Welcome to Blog Talk Radio in high fidelity.
Broadcasting from Cincinnati.
You're listening to the Ringside Reporter Podcast. All the news from the world of boxing
Right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
now. Here's your host, Eric Lorda.
And we are live with a special Wednesday edition of Ringside Reporter Podcast, our last one of the year. My name is Eric Lorta, and I'm here with my co-host, Ringside Robert, and England's adopted son, Joe Habib. We have a great show for you today, and as always, you can catch us on the web at ringsidereporter.com. If you want to call and ask some questions, you can call in right now at 323-870-3857, and we'll be here till about 9 o'clock tonight, maybe a little bit earlier. We'll see how it goes. Today, we're going to talk about the year in review. Who was Fighter of the Year? What was Fight of the Year? We'll let you know. Deontay Wilder playing the race card. We'll tell you more about that. But first, we get started with, hey, there was no fights over the weekend, no fights. So we have to go for our scheduled fights here. What's upcoming? December 30th in Yokohama, Japan. Naoya Inoue, the monster, versus Yoan Boyo. 12 rounds for Inoue's WBO junior bantamweight title. And on the undercard, Ken Shiro versus Gilberto Pedroza. 12 rounds for Shiro's WBC junior flyweight title. There's also, let's see here, in Tokyo, they always have a year-end show, but I don't think there's anybody you would know, and it's not going to be televised. So we're going to go ahead and skip it. So December 30th, Naoya Inoue is going to fight Yoan Boyo, easy for me to say. This is kind of a stepping stone into that Superfly card. I don't expect Boyo to give him any problems at all. Quite honestly, anybody they've been pairing Inoue against has not given him any problems, but he hasn't been facing the stiffest of competition. So until he fights somebody, and Beeb, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, until Inoue fights somebody, he kind of reminds me of like a younger Mike Tyson in the sense that, you know, you see him out there, he's knocking people out, he's doing the right things, but until he faces some stiffer competition, somebody we deem as stiffer competition, I don't really know what to think of him. What are your thoughts on him?
I agree 110% with you. Even in the HBO fight that they showcased him on against the opponent that wasn't really a top-tier guy, obviously, because it was, like I said, a showcase fight, it didn't look like he was spectacular in that performance. Definitely heavy-handed, but again, doesn't seem to be too creative with the offense. Looked to me to be a little one-dimensional. Now, was that because of what he had in front of him? Did he say to himself, I don't have to bring much to the table tonight? I don't have to do a lot of different things in there because of my opponent? Or was it just because that's who he is? Only one way will that question be answered, and that's to put him into a fight where he's forced to have to do different things. And obviously that was not the right opponent to put him in that type of situation. So, yeah, I'm on the same boat as you. I want to see more of the guy. I want to see him fight better opposition, and I'd love to see him in a unification fight with one of the other champions in that division, because that's a red-hot division he's in.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, and on Superfly, I was really excited. I mean, it's going to be a really good main event with Rungvisai, but again, I mean, him and Quadras are fighting, but they're not fighting each other. They're going to fight different opposition. I'm like, well, I would have liked to seen him and Quadras fight each other, so I don't know. I mean, I think that they're gonna hype this guy up and roll with him, and eventually we're gonna see what he's got. Now, if he's got, is he the goods? I don't know. I really don't know. He passes the eye test. I mean, you look at him and you say, hey, this guy looks good, but can he box? Can he? What is he going to do when he gets in there against a pressure guy? What is he going to do against a guy who can really, really box? I don't know. Or can take his shot. That's the other thing, too. What is he going to do against somebody who can take his shot? I don't know.
Put him in there with Rungvisai.
That's what I want to see.
Why not?
That's exactly what I want to see, man, because Rungvisai can hit. He can, I mean, that guy, he's good, man, for sure. Speaking of Rungvisai, let's go to and I know we didn't go over this yet. Let's talk about knockout of the year. And I'm going to go ahead and nominate him. For me, Rungvisai knocking out Chocolatito, to me, was the knockout of the year. I think that, especially given the fact that first fight was so close, so competitive, and a lot of people thought Chocolatito got it, for him to come back in that second fight and just oust him like that, just roasted that guy. I mean, in the fashion that he did it, I mean, that fight was never close. I mean, it was all Rungvisai from the bell. I mean, he just KO'd him, and this was a fighter that was unbeaten. 40-some fights unbeaten, just got pasted. You know, so I got to give it to Rungvisai. Beeb, what say you?
Well, are you giving it to Rungvisai because of the significance of the knockout, or because it was basically a TKO? I mean, you can do that.
I think
you can do that. I'm not going to sit there and try to dissect what you did.
Mm-hmm.
But my theory on the knockout of the year is, God, how emphatic the knockout was.
Sure.
How explosive. Just a guy being short-circuited and being separated from his senses and just being out. So that's my criteria for knockout of the year.
Yeah.
And my knockout of the year is going to be David Lemieux over Curtis Stevens. Because there was no woo! There was a that's the difference.
Yeah. Okay. I think, yeah, that's a good one too, man. Robert, what about you?
No, I have to agree with Beeb. I mean, you had no clue that was going to happen to Curtis Stevens, because Curtis Stevens is the one used to dishing out the punishment, not taking it. And when he got hit with that one punch, I mean, his world just collapsed. He had no idea what happened to him. And, you know, out of all the fights we watched this year, I don't think we've ever seen anybody do that to anybody else this year. I mean, it was, you know, that was unexpected. But you nominated a good one too, because Rungvisai doing that to Chocolatito, that came out of nowhere. And as far as Rungvisai goes, from what I understand, I guess Estrada is his mandatory, and once the mandatory is taken care of, from what I'm hearing, him and Quadras are going to be getting together later on in 2018.
And let me tell you what, that ain't no gimme either. Yeah, that Estrada and Rungvisai, that's going to be a fight, boy. That's going to be a good fight. I saw Georgie in the chat, and I think it was Reese Mack, if I'm not mistaken, mentioned Lubin, Charlo and Lubin. Reese Mack, the Lubin KO.
That's another one.
Man, that
could have been it too.
Ooh.
That could have been it.
Charlo.
That's close.
Guys are scary, boy. Those are scary guys, man.
Yeah.
My goodness.
That was a good one too.
Yeah, I can't fault that one here. All right, let's talk about the comeback of the year. Beeb and I have talked about this, man. I think, you know, and he mentioned this too, Saddam Ali. I can't go any other way, man. I think that's a good pick. I mean, this guy was all but out. You think about it. I mean, he was picked. He was picked by Cotto as a stepping stone. I mean, this is a guy this was a guy brought in for Cotto's retirement party. You know, he was going to take a back seat. Cotto was going to go out on the cloud. Not so, man. Saddam Ali upsetting the apple cart. Beeb, you say Saddam Ali. What about you, Robert?
I got to make it unanimous. I mean, he ended up with a title that he didn't expect to get. And I hope he's able to take advantage of it. Unfortunately, all the other significant 154-pounders are all on the other side of the fence. This is where boxing politics may interfere with the poor guy. I hope he gets a significant fight, because he retired Miguel Cotto with class and proved that Cotto didn't belong in the ring anymore. And I hope he gets a big I hope he gets a big fight because of the way he performed. I mean, he came out of nowhere. I mean, he was just a selected opponent. We all talked on this show about how, do we really want to watch this? I mean, this is going to be awful. Why do we have to waste our time? And, well, he showed us why we should never say that about any fight. He actually showed up and gave a performance that that made those of us who actually watched proud of it, and proved us all wrong about what we were going to watch.
You know what, man? I'll tell you what, man. I'm really happy you said that because, you know, Saddam Ali's a friend of the show, by the way, just in case you guys didn't know. Friend of the show, Saddam Ali. But, you know, you hit the nail right on the head when you said that, because how many times do we look at a card and we're like, are you serious? These two are actually going to fight. Are you serious? You know, and you don't want to watch the fight. You're just like, man, whatever, you know, and you end up watching it and they perform, man. That's why they fight. I mean, on paper, you know, fights don't take place on paper, man. They take place in the ring, and you don't know what's in. And a lot of times they go the route you think they're going to go. But in cases like this with Saddam Ali, and you don't know, you know, you don't know. And this is why, you know, this is why they fight the fights. And this is why you never know. When two people, I tell you what, man, when two people got gloves on and they're throwing hands at each other, and both are seasoned pros, one's going to be better than the other. Yeah, okay. But they are both seasoned professionals who know how to use their hands. Anything can happen, man. It's a strange game, man. Anything can happen. That's why we love the game, man, because it's a strange game. Anything is possible.
And ironically, Eric, just to point out something else that everybody probably didn't pay attention to. All three of the fights we just mentioned, they all occurred on HBO. If you noticed, for Knockout of the Year and Comeback of the Year and talking about Superfly, you know, these are all fights that occurred on HBO. Mm-hmm. Now, why isn't the PBC and Showtime considered for any of these? Isn't it ironic that when we all made our significant choices here, they're all HBO fights?
Yeah, well, it's not over yet. Not over yet. Still
no,
a lot
I know.
To go. All right. So,
but I because we got a lot of ground to cover, and I know we're going to cover some Showtime things too. But I just wanted to point that out for certain individuals.
There you go.
Jason's on hold. Don't worry about it. Yeah, we got Jason on line 3.
Oh goodness, man. Goodness. Let's talk about upset of the year. Beeb and I had talked about this one. Caleb Truax over James DeGale. I can't have it any other way, man. That was a shocker. I mean, Caleb Truax was another one that was put out to pasture. I mean, he could have had comeback of the year as well. I mean, that was a huge win. I don't know what was a bigger win. I don't. Was it Saddam Ali over Miguel Cotto, an aging Miguel Cotto? Caleb Truax.
What about Jeff Horn? Jeff Horn over Manny Pacquiao.
Reese Mack in the chat just put
Jeff
that
Horn
out.
Over Manny Pacquiao
Jeff Horn
another
over
one.
Manny Pacquiao.
I mean, who would have thought that?
You could do 1A and 1B on that one. Yeah.
Anyone that wants to give him that. That's
the problem. But I will throw a wrench into it in saying that the issue with Jeff Horn over Manny Pacquiao was many people thought that Pacquiao won, including my main man, Teddy Atlas, who was jobbed at ESPN. But I'm just saying.
Who's no longer going to be allowed at ringside for the next 3 years.
Nobody badmouths Teddy on this show. I got news.
He's gone.
How dare you?
As Donald Trump would say, fired.
Who do you think you are at Beeb Industries telling Teddy Atlas he's fired?
I mean,
he's the fire.
I put a word into ESPN and I got the job done.
Let me tell you what. Let me find out that's true. I'll leave you where I find you. All right. Nobody badmouths Teddy on this show. All right. So what about you, Robert? What's your upset of the year?
Wow. Well, since I didn't get to see Caleb Truax beat James DeGale, I got to go with Jeff Horn over Manny Pacquiao because, and I scored it for Pacquiao, you know. Yeah. But hell, he did again. He was just a selected opponent. Another possible retirement ceremony that was supposed to take place in good old Australia here. You know, this is a sort of a going away kind of thing. And, you know, Jeff Horn ruined the party, you know, and hopefully people can come to their senses and, you know, he gets to fight with Crawford because once he fights Terrence Crawford and loses, we will probably never see Jeff Horn again. So hopefully he gets his ultimate reward and goes on and lives a good life. You know what I mean?
Well, hey, I got one for you guys. That's
Okay.
how about Canelo? How about Canelo with a draw over Triple G? It's kind of an upset. Everybody picked Triple G. Kind of an honorable mention. I wouldn't call it upset of the year. Definitely an honorable mention.
Well,
maybe
Eric,
possibly.
can we put that, considering how Adelaide Bird actually scored that?
Yeah. Sometimes, hey, listen, man. I mean, everybody
I
gets
don't
fights
know.
wrong. Everybody gets fights wrong from time to time. I mean, how many times did me and Beeb come in with opposite scorecards? And maybe they agree with maybe they agree with me. Maybe they agree with you.
Nobody came in on this show with such an opposite scorecard in that fight. So
No, but I will tell you.
I don't know if you can.
No, but I will tell you this.
I don't know if you.
I will say this, that
Go ahead.
both Beeb and I scored it for Triple G, and you scored it for Canelo. So what's the difference?
Yeah, I did, but I had it close. I didn't have it 118, 110 for Canelo. I had it 115, 113 for Canelo.
Yeah.
I had that Pacquiao fight a dead draw. Draw. Yeah. What did you have it, Eric? I think you had it for Pacquiao 115, 113. Right?
I think it was something like that. Yeah, I believe it was somewhere around there. So
it's just like with the with the Chocolatito first fight, I scored it a draw.
Yeah.
But but I was perfectly happy that he lost. But I scored it a draw.
Yeah. What do you guys think's next for Manny Pacquiao? Does he fights again? I mean, I think it's almost certain that he's going to fight again.
That's a great question.
What's next for that guy? I mean, I don't think he's getting Crawford. I don't think he wants Crawford. I think he's going to try to pull a Cotto, where he's going to try to pull somebody that he knows he can beat, or that he thinks he can beat. I don't know, but I don't know.
Are you guys shocked that he never exercised his rematch clause with Jeff Horn?
I don't think he could. I don't think he could because he couldn't fight that time. I think he was going to. I think it was in November or something like that. And they wanted to make the fight, and then he couldn't because he was in the Senate or whatever he's doing over there.
But when they switched it to December, he said because of his political commitments, he couldn't fight. That's how Gary Corcoran got that fight.
Yeah.
So is the whole thing void now? Is the rematch clause portion of the contract void now because it wasn't exercised?
I don't know, because you keep hearing that Horn's going to fight Crawford in March in Las Vegas.
Okay. Yeah. So who does Pacquiao fight?
Well, and Horn
does Pacquiao fight?
Horn is not going to fight Crawford unless he gets a big payday. He's got every right to say no to that fight.
I think they'll put it together though. I have a feeling that fight will come off.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're gonna. I agree with that. They're gonna put it together, and they're gonna pay for that title because he's gonna get murked against Terence Crawford.
Yes, he is.
And that's not the guy. That's not the guy you want to see Crawford in there with, but it's a start. It'll be a start for Crawford, put it that way.
Yeah, it'll be
well,
nice,
actually,
right?
because of the political organizations and the way things are working in boxing nowadays, I could see a scenario where Crawford beats Horn and then Pacquiao does get that shot, because I could see Bob Arum saying, okay, Manny, you want to fight again? Come and get your title back, but this time you got to deal with Crawford.
Yeah.
Who would you favor if Crawford and Spence got it on?
Spence.
Yeah,
Earl Spence.
Yeah, Spence is over there sparring with the Charlos and everybody. Get out of here, man. Yeah, Spence. They said he hits like a light heavyweight. It says get hit, man.
Yeah.
And not to mention he's more comfortable at the weight Crawford is coming up. So it's almost like the good big man versus the good smaller man.
Yeah.
They're both, I mean, as far as skill level goes, I mean, you got to give the edge to Spence. You're looking at an Olympian with his pedigree. But, I mean, boxing-wise, it's not like Crawford sucks. Crawford's a great fighter. I mean, but I just have to give, Spence on paper is the better fighter. It just is,
Now, I hope in 2018 we get to see Earl Spence and Keith Thurman.
I think we will.
I don't think it's kind of. You think we will in 2018?
I think we will. I think that's their pony. I think Errol Spence is their pony, and he wants to fight. He wants to stay active, and Keith Thurman, not so much. He doesn't seem to want to stay active. He's becoming kind of a diva. He's wanting to pick and choose his own fights. He wants this and that. He's fought one time this year, and granted that was for surgery and everything, and you got to give him a pass on that. But I think they're going to go with. I think Spence is the meal ticket. Honestly, Spence is the guy they can build as Captain America.
Once Spence wins that fight, and I think he will, he'll have 3 of the 4 titles.
Yeah,
you know?
I think Spence. Yeah, I think Spence. I think Spence stops Keith Thurman. Yeah, I think Spence will stop him. I don't think that fight's close. It's a whitewash.
And see, that would be another stepping stone to possibly setting up a mega fight, say with Crawford. Say Crawford beats Horn and then Crawford dispatches Pacquiao, then you could begin 2019 with a mega fight between Keith Thurman and Terrence Crawford. I mean, Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford. And that would be a hell of a way to start 2019, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it goes that route. I really do. I think those guys will come to a deal. Trust me, they'll come to a deal because that's a big money fight. That's a huge money fight. If both guys keep winning, that's a Leonard Hearns type of fight, man. That fight will get made.
Yeah, so that's how I see it playing out now. I don't know if the boxing gods will allow us to have it play out that way, but I could see it playing out that way.
Listen, man, they made De La Hoya Trinidad. They made all these other fights throughout the years. That fight will get. That's a big welterweight fight. It'll draw parallels to Leonard Hearns. That's definitely going to happen if they both stay there and they both.
Do you put that on ESPN or do you stick that on pay-per-view?
That fight 100% is going to pay-per-view. Depends on who the promoter is, though. I don't know. It depends on who the promoter is, but I would think that it's going to pay-per-view.
Yeah, if it's Bob Arum, it's pay-per-view. If it's PBC, who knows? Yeah,
don't know. All right, let's talk fighter of the year. If Triple G would have beat Canelo, he would be a shoo-in for fighter of the year. Beating Danny Jacobs and Canelo, how can you not call him the fighter of the year? You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, that didn't happen. Triple G won a disputed decision against Danny Jacobs and, of course, got a disputed draw against Canelo. So he wins both of those fights. To me, I've got no problem. He's the guy, but you can't really give it to him this year. Anthony Joshua, to me, is a close second. He stopped Vladimir Klitschko and Carlos Takam, both really good fighters. Selling out 90,000 seats at Wembley. That's always a plus too. But for my money, man, Vasyl Lomachenko is the fighter of the year. He fought 3 times in 2017. He fought Jason Sosa, Miguel Mariaga, and Guillermo Rigondeaux. All 3 opponents retired or quit. Sosa and Mariaga, their corners stopped the fight. They threw the towel in. Rigo bought out with a bruised hand. No fighter there. No fighter out there has had bigger names than Lomachenko, and he's finished them all. I don't see any other fighter that had a better year. Beeb, who's your fighter of the year?
Terrence Crawford is my fighter of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Lomachenko, I thought, beat 3 smaller guys. I hate to say it about Rigondeaux because Rigondeaux was held in such high regard.
Yeah, very much.
He really was. And so I don't want to diminish with Lomachenko.
Pound for pound.
But the other 2 opponents I thought were handpicked. I thought they were tailor-made. And I say that with the utmost respect to both guys. I don't mean to diminish them at all either. But Terrence Crawford, Felix Diaz was very small. But he was a guy who I thought beat Lamont Peterson. And I thought he brought a very interesting style to the fight with Crawford. I thought it possibly could have gave Crawford problems, and it didn't really give him problems, but it did take him 10 rounds to get him out of there. And Felix Diaz put up a valiant effort. He just couldn't hang in there with Crawford. But let's talk about this Julius Ndongo fight, because a lot of people are really, really minimizing this victory, and I think this victory was a very, very impressive victory. The way he stopped Julius Ndongo, because he didn't give Julius Ndongo a chance to quit, like Lomachenko's 3 opponents fought out gracefully. He took Ndongo out in emphatic fashion, put his lights out with a body shot in the 3rd round, and did it quickly. And on paper, this was a unified champion who went in his opponent's backyard twice to win 2 titles in the same year. And then he fought Terrence Crawford for all the marbles. This was a tall, awkward, lanky southpaw who on paper had a very, very difficult style, had a difficult, dimensions in terms of his size, his length, his volume that he brought to the table. This was a tough opponent on paper. And now, because it did not play out that way, now everyone wants to throw this guy under the bus, say he was nothing, say this was a nothing victory. So Terrence Crawford unified all 4 belts. And when was that ever done? That hasn't been done. A male boxer has not done that since Bernard Hopkins, as we all know, back in 2005. And then obviously Jermaine Taylor beat him, and he was the unified champion. So last time there was unified champions in 2006, 11 years ago. And finally, we had Terrence Crawford break that drought against a guy who I thought going in was a tough opponent. And most people were saying that it was a tough opponent. But all the Monday morning quarterbacks after the fact, just like they did the same thing with Rigo in regards to Lomachenko, to be fair, they want to minimize the victory over Rigo, and they want to minimize the victory over Julius Ndongo. Mm-hmm. But with all due respect, I'm going to have to say that the Ndongo victory, in my mind and opinion, is more impressive than the Rigo, because Ndongo's in his prime. He was in the weight class, and he was actually bigger than Crawford. I'm not going to Monday morning quarterback this. I'm not going to be hypocritical, but you could make an argument that Rigo was old, past his prime, hasn't been active, and he was the smaller man. Now, that's the difference in victories. Now, obviously, people, throughout the years put Rigo, higher up there than Ndongo, but what have you done for me lately? Let's look at the present day. Ndongo was a unified champion. He fought in the weight class for a while, whereas Rigo, first time fighting in the weight class, and he had to vacate his title to take the fight with Lomachenko. So it wasn't really a unification fight. So technically, on paper, it wasn't a real significant matchup. But based upon the perception of Rigo and the past of Rigo, it was a long-awaited fight that was overdue. And I was interested in it, but I picked Lomachenko. I thought he would win, but I thought it would be a close fight, and it wasn't. So because of that, I'm going to give Lomachenko full credit. But I just think in terms of significance, what Terrence Crawford did and how he did it and the opponent he did it against, I felt was the most significant fight in the sport of boxing for 2017, outside of Joshua versus Klitschko.
Yeah.
And Canelo versus Triple G.
And let me just touch on that too. Ndongo and, with Julius Ndongo, he was a good fighter. I mean, this isn't a guy that was a slouch or a bum or anything like this. Was a title holder. He had won both of his titles on the road. This guy was good. This guy is a very, very good fighter, very difficult fighter. And he was just dissected. Now, whether he dissected, because he was in Crawford's hometown. I don't know. He went to London, and wasn't it London when he fought Burns, or was it in Ireland?
Scotland. He fought him in Scotland. Yeah.
Either way, it was Burns' hometown. So it's tough, man.
Yeah.
It's he's a very good fighter, man. So take nothing away from him, and definitely can't really taint Crawford's victory by saying he just beat a guy named Julius Ndongo. That guy was a very good fighter.
And here's another one to throw at you, Eric. Let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Say that Julius Ndongo is the second best junior welterweight in the world, or was the second best junior welterweight in the world? Even after being knocked out by Crawford, could we say that?
I don't see why not. I really don't. I mean, I don't see why not.
You know what I find interesting, guys?
Let me just finish my point real quick, Robbie. Let me just finish my point, Robbie.
Robert, hang on.
Robert, let me just finish my point real quick.
Sorry.
So now, now I ask you this: was Rigo the second best junior lightweight in the world? See what I'm saying? So you had number 1 and number 2 fighting, but did you really have number 1 and number 2 fighting at 130? That's a good point.
I see your point. I see your point. But you know what? Listen, man, I think Rigo would have been favored over any one of those guys, with the exception of Lomachenko, in that division.
At
At
130.
130.
All right, that's a fair. That's a no, that's
Prior
fair.
to the Lomachenko fight.
I'll
He would.
respect that. That's fair.
Yeah.
I'll respect that.
So, Robert, now what about you?
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Who's your fighter of the
You're
year?
good.
You know, I've been kicking this back and forth, and you both have brought up good candidates. But honestly, I've got to go to the Glamour division because, in my opinion, we now have a real heavyweight champion, and he grew up before our very eyes, and that would be the one and only Anthony Joshua. He faced adversity in the Klitschko fight. He came out very he didn't do very well in the beginning of the fight. Klitschko gave him all kinds of problems. He actually knocked him down. He actually got knocked down, after he knocked Klitschko down. But see, the thing I liked about Joshua is he knocked Klitschko down. He celebrated. He thought the fight was over and was exhausted the next couple of rounds. And I actually dealt with being knocked down for the first time in his career and got up and actually found a way to actually win that fight. And for that reason alone, I've got to give the guy the fighter of the year because I can't think of another fighter who is in a world title fight who actually had to survive being knocked down and come back and actually win the fight the way Joshua did. I've got to give the fighter of the year to Anthony Joshua.
Very good. And you know what? I mean, he was my second choice as well. I can't really argue with that. You know, you got Anthony Joshua again, man. He's just he's polished. He's polished, and like you said, I think you hit it right on the head. He grew up right in front of our eyes with that fight. So absolutely. So Robert says Anthony Joshua. I say Vasyl Lomachenko, and Beeb says Terrence Crawford. So there you go. Split decision. Split. We're all split. Fight of the year. Fight of the year. For me, let me go over some before I give you the fight of the year. My fight of the year. Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather didn't win fight of the year, but it definitely won event of the year. 4.3 million pay-per-view buys and bringing two sports together. It wasn't a great fight, but it was entertaining. The press conferences, the build-up, how could you not be entertained by that? I mean, if you weren't entertained by that, you need to check your pulse. It's always interesting when stuff like that happens, so it definitely deserves a mention. When I thought of this fight, I thought immediately of the Lennox Lewis-Mike Tyson fight, where you had almost like these two worlds coming together, you know, and obviously those two were both boxers, but it was such a crazy event, and this was right there with it. This was such a crazy event. Yeah, I mean, until you saw McGregor get in the ring and Floyd get in the ring and you heard that bell, it was surreal to watch this. I mean, it really was. It was a surreal thing to watch. If you're fans of both sports, it was a very surreal thing to watch. So definitely event of the year. My second choice, while Triple G and Canelo, it was a good fight. It didn't have a decisive outcome for me, quite honestly, because it ended in a draw that should have really gone to Triple G. I had the fight scored for Triple G. I think most people did. Honestly, it was a good fight, but it kind of soured me. And they're talking about the rematch on May 5th. I have absolutely 100% zero interest.
Wow.
In fight again. Zero.
Wow.
And zero interest
Wow.
because of the way it ended. It's kind of like watching a bad movie with a bad ending, or, watching a good movie with a bad ending. I don't have any interest in watching the fight again. None.
Sort of like The Last Jedi?
Oh, Last Jedi was good. What are you talking about? That was a good movie. What's the matter with you?
I don't know. I expected more out of Luke Skywalker.
Did you ever see the movie? And I don't know if most of you have seen it or not, but it's called Magnolia. Did anybody see this movie?
No.
It's with there's a ton of stars in it. I mean, Tom Cruise is in it. Julianne Moore is in it. Anybody you name is probably in it. Okay, there's a ton. John C. Reilly's in it. There's a ton of stars in this, and it's about all these people's separate lives that kind of intertwine together. Yeah. And the movie's about 2.5 hours long, and for about 2 hours and 15 minutes, it was probably one of the best movies I'd ever seen. because everything kind of intertwines and it tells such a great story. The ending, it's a metaphor ending, and it was so horrible that you just don't want to watch the movie again. It was such a bad ending to the movie, and it wasn't tragic. It wasn't happy. It wasn't sad. It was a metaphorical ending, and you won't know what I'm talking about unless you actually watch the movie, or unless you've seen the movie. You'll never sit down and watch the movie again because it was such a bad ending. That's how I felt about Canelo Triple G.
What a great comparison. Now I don't want to watch Triple G and Canelo again. I did, but you ruined it for me.
I ruined it.
You ruined it for me. Oh my gosh.
Let me tell you a fight I would watch.
I mean, boycott it.
Watch it for the both of you, okay?
Let me tell you a fight I would watch again and again and again. My fight of the year, without question, hands down. And this ranks way up there. To me, this fight of the year, Anthony Joshua versus Vladimir Klitschko. These were two big-name fighters. The fight was held in Wembley Stadium. And for everyone that says Wilder is selling 10,000 seats in Alabama and in New York, this fight sold 90,000 seats. Let that sink in for a minute. They had to move it from 80,000 to 90,000. They had to open up that last bit. 90,000 seats in Wembley Stadium. Not only was this the biggest fight in 2017, it was one of the best. It had everything, both fighters being knocked down. The fight was back and forth. It was one of the most exciting fights I've seen, not this year, but ever. It was really that entertaining. I mean, this was an unbelievable fight. So for me, Anthony Joshua, Vladimir Klitschko, hands down, fight of the year. Beeb, what say you?
Jason Shaw versus Ringside Robbie. No, I mean, I'm going to have to agree with you. Vladimir Klitschko versus Anthony Joshua.
I'd like to see Jason Shaw and Ringside Robbie go at it one more time.
No, I agree with everything you just said. The fight had a lot of ebb and flow to it. It was almost like a Rocky movie.
Yeah.
Where, Rocky gets knocked down, then he knocks down Apollo, and then, it's back and forth. It was just a storybook type fight. And both guys looked like they were done. And at the end, one guy ended up being done, but he wasn't done until he fought the fight of his life. And even in losing, some people are saying that's his best performance. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
To receive accolades like that in a fight that you lose. And he was so happy with the performance that he decided, you know what? I'm gonna go out like this. And he didn't even exercise his rematch clause. That's amazing.
Yeah. And a lot of fighters do that. I mean, I think of Holyfield and Riddick Bowe, their first fight. Right. I had so much respect for Holyfield after the fight because going in, I wasn't a real big Holyfield fan. I mean, he seemed to get had some luck on his side and that kind of thing. But after that Riddick Bowe fight, man, how could you doubt that guy's heart, and determination? And the same thing with Klitschko. He earned more respect in this fight, in this loss, than any of his wins. I mean, honestly. You really
did. Amazing.
Well, it's like they say, man, sometimes when you win, you really lose. And sometimes when you lose, you really win. Robert, fight of the year.
I'm going to make this a unanimous decision. It's the only fight I kept on my DVR for the whole year. Joshua Klitschko. It had everything you want a real heavyweight championship fight to have. And I can't even remember, and I've watched boxing since Ali Frazier #1. I can't remember a heavyweight fight in quite a while that had all the ebbs and flows and back and forth. And you know what? Vladimir Klitschko, even in a loss, submitted his Hall of Fame status because of the way he went out and he handled it with class. And, I've got to respect the guy even more because he turned down multi-millions to come back because he very easily could have come back and they could have done it all over again. And I don't think people would have been disappointed. Without a doubt, Anthony Joshua, Vladimir Klitschko, fight of the year. And maybe the fight of quite some time. I don't know if we'll ever have another heavyweight fight for quite a while that reaches the status that this one did. And we got to see it for free, folks. It wasn't pay-per-view, which is good.
Amazing. Yeah, just an amazing fight, man. Amazing. Manny Gattillo in the chat says, how's Titletown doing today? Titletown's doing great. Very cold over here. It's about 12 degrees at last check, so it is freezing in Titletown today.
Cold over here too, man, and I'm coughing up a storm.
Tell you what, yeah, Beeb's sick again, man.
Sick.
The weather.
I'm sick, man.
Get a flu shot, son.
I got to go back to the UK for the summer.
Get the UK for the summer.
This weather's killing me. Gotta see if Eddie got a nice flat for me already.
Flat. Yeah, right.
There you
go. right in the Matchroom Towers over there, you know.
There you go.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to our friend in the UK, Wingy. Since we're talking about the UK right now, Wingy's Boxing Bites. Go and download his show. It's called Wingy's Boxing Bites. You can find it on iTunes. He does a best of the year as well, and he actually gave us YouTuber of the year. So we want to thank Wingy for it. And his podcast is great. It's Wingy's Boxing Bites. It's a very good show. It's really awesome.
Really good
takes. I love hearing Wingy.
Really good.
Yeah.
So really good podcast.
Shout out to Wingy, man. Go subscribe to him and go download his podcast. And also too, Georgie Porgy paid up his bet as we thought he would. He always does. And I don't know, you know what, Beeb, I don't think I'm going to be able to play this on here.
I'll upload it.
So, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Let's upload it to beatingtheoddswithbeeb.com, and you'll be able to see Georgie paying up his bet in full to the king. The king, son. That's me. All right. There you go. All right. Before we go to the phones, let me give you this here, our train wreck of the week on our news and rumors, because I think a lot of people want to talk about this, maybe talk about this as well. So, Beeb, it's time.
Rihanna, train wreck time. Let's go. You get double time and a half on a school night. Go ahead.
That's right.
Oh, no, you're not. You're on vacation.
Not a school.
You're on vacation. Go ahead, do it.
Chugga, 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 chugga. Choo, choo.
Good job.
Yeah, that was good. She changed it up. So much better than Beeb. When Beeb does it, he was just like a.
I know.
Yeah.
I sound like a broken down train when I do it.
That's
sound
right.
like the train is already wrecked when you do it. You know.
Oh God.
All right, Deontay Wilder in our train wreck of the week plays the race card. Yes, he sure did, man. He went there. He went there. I think it was an interview with The Guardian, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But he gave an interview and he said, quote, he talked about basically how American media and American journalists, they always focus on foreigners. They always focus on foreign people. They never focus. They want to down American champions, this and that. And he said this, quote, I never understand that, especially as a champion. You should want somebody to come and pass you. You shouldn't want somebody to keep. You should want somebody to keep your sport alive and build it up. Even the champions that don't want their legacy passed because they don't want to be forgotten. But if you did it right the first time, you'll never be forgotten. Casual fans come into boxing, listen to the so-called experts downing our fighters, but praise the foreigners. We adopt the foreigners, but not our own. That's a huge problem. In other countries, they praise their fighters. Said a lot of people don't want to pull the race card, but let's be real. I'm a realist. I'm a woke realist, whatever that means. I'm not brainwashed at all. I see what's going on. If I was every other ethnicity, any type of person that's not a black man, it would be different. If I was any other color but black, it would be different. Wow. Okay. So basically he's saying that because he's not very popular because he's black. And I would beg to differ. And, you know, and this may be a good move by Wilder, may not be a good move by Wilder. But my thing is this, and the first thing I look at is that who's managing your career? What are you doing? You know, do you have a promoter? Who's your promoter? Your promoter's not doing his job. I don't know that he has a promoter. Beeb and I were talking about this before the show. Beeb, I thought DeBella was his promoter, but you said no, he's not his promoter.
He doesn't have a signed contract with DeBella, from what I understand. I know when he fights at the Barclays and he fights in New York, DeBella promotes the shows. But from what I was told, from what I've heard, he doesn't have an official signed contract with Lou DeBella.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have exclusivity in regards to DeBella.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's a big thing right there.
and from what I understand,
that's a big thing right there.
From what I understand, go ahead, Eric. Sorry.
Okay. The fact that he doesn't have a promoter, that's a huge deal, because that's kind of, promoter. They promote you and get your name out there. So that's one strike against you here. And then the other thing is too, man, Deontay, and we've interviewed him, and the thing, and it's fascinating, man, because I tell you what, two guys come to mind that I think they should have been big stars. Deontay Wilder is one, because Deontay Wilder, if you talk to him for 5 minutes, he's awesome. I mean, you love that guy. I mean, it's like you have been talking to him forever. I mean, he is that kind of guy. He's got that charisma about him. You just like him. I mean, he's a likable guy, very nice guy. Can't say enough good things about him, so why isn't this guy popular? So you look at, hey, does he have a promoter? Does he have this? The other guy that really should have been a superstar is Hank Lundy. Hank Lundy is another guy that he should fire his promoter like months ago, years ago, because Hank Lundy is one of the most charismatic guys in the sport. If you talk to Hank Lundy, Hank Lundy is great. He knows how to sell himself. He knows how to sell the sport. He's just a great guy. He's another one that really, should have fired CES a long time ago. But going back to Deontay Wilder, because that's our subject at hand, with Deontay Wilder, man, and this goes out to a lot of those guys that, you take a look at Floyd Mayweather and everybody hates that guy. Everybody hates Floyd. Why is he such a big star? The thing that nobody wants to realize, the thing that nobody wants to admit, is that Floyd Mayweather is the hardest working guy in the sport, bar none. Nobody works harder than that guy. You don't believe me? Go ask your mother or your father or your kids who Floyd Mayweather is, and I guarantee you they know who he is. That's how you know he's the hardest working guy out there, because people know his name. He's got his name out there. He went out on Dancing with the Stars and made a fool of himself or whatever he did. He goes out to WrestleMania. He's in there, and there's a billion other things. And his fights were not stellar. I know Suleiman in the chat just said, Mayweather can box. Yeah, that's right. But his fights weren't exactly stellar. If you watched his pay-per-view, they're not great fights. We can't put any of his fights at Fight of the Year caliber. They're not great fights. Nobody wanted to watch him. His fights were boring. To the average casual guy, his fights were boring. Deontay Wilder, and what Floyd Mayweather did early on was he went and got a firm. He went and got a PR firm. He went and got, he had promoters. He had a PR firm. He was brought up through Top Rank, and then became his own promoter or whatever. But again, he got a PR firm, got his name out there. He had a good manager with Leonard Ellerby who got his name out there. The thing is, you have to work at it. It's not just going to come to you. And if you think the color of your skin makes a difference, look at Vladimir Klitschko. Look at either one of the Klitschkos. They're not popular fighters. Yeah, they're popular in Germany. They're popular in the UK. They're not popular. Nobody wanted to watch them. I remember when the heavyweight championship was being defended, and it wasn't on TV anywhere, like HBO, Showtime, nowhere, because he was fighting, Povetkin or somebody, that he wasn't a very popular fighter, So that's the thing. I don't think it has anything to do with his race. I think that, I think he's taken some steps in the right direction. I think that Wilder's taken some steps. I know he's on that reality show with his wife, some kind of Housewife of Atlanta thing, or WAG Atlanta or whatever it is. I think that's a step in the right direction. Getting your name out there is a step in the right direction. Making these kind of statements, like it or not, it's a step in the right direction. because people are going to say, hey, he's wrong. Yeah, that's going to be their first thing is, this guy's playing the race card, this and that. But it's not a bad strategy. If you want to get noticed, you say controversial things. B, what were your thoughts on this particular subject here?
Well, I think you're 100% correct. What he's done in this last year and a half, he's really made strides. He's really starting to promote himself very well, and I commend him for what he's done in this last year and a half. He seems like he's really taken charge of his career, and I think by saying certain things and speaking up the way he has, I think it's drawing attention to himself. And I'm even starting to see him do big radio shows. Mm-hmm. He's on podcasts now, nationwide podcasts. I think he's doing well for himself in this last year and a half. And I like the way he's called out Joshua. And I like the way he's tried to, criticize Joshua and try to shame him a little bit, to try to hype the fight up a little bit, make himself seem like he's the guy that wants to unify the belts, where this is the guy that does it. And I think it's polarizing, it's dividing boxing. But sometimes polarization is good because it creates interest. It creates factions of fans going at it. And when you have factions of fans going at it, then you have kind of hype. And sometimes that's what the sport needs. It needs hype. Obviously, we need to have a great event and a great fight along with the hype. But the hype is the beginning. It's the precursor to the great fight. And, this couldn't have been scripted any better the way he's doing it right now. Mm-hmm. But I have to agree with him on one thing. And I've been saying this for years. And this is why I'm UK's adopted son. Because I fell in love with the UK because I love how they treat their fighters. We don't treat our fighters well. We should be treating our fighters a lot better. And we should be getting behind our fighters a lot more. And I like Vasily Lomachenko. And I like Manny Pacquiao. And I like, the Klitschko brothers. I like all those fighters. Sergey Kovalev, I respect him as a fighter. He's a very, very, very entertaining fighter. Gennady Golovkin, excellent fighter. But ask yourself this. Are they better than Andre Ward? Are they better than Terrence Crawford? Tim Bradley was another fighter who was very, very good. He was a very good fighter. Errol Spence. Why aren't these guys getting the same shine that these foreign fighters are getting? Why isn't HBO or, the other networks pushing these guys? You know what I'm saying? So that's why Bob Arum had to take a lot of these fighters over to ESPN to try to get them more exposure. But mainstream media is not really getting behind these guys. A lot of these boxing websites and these boxing analysts or what have you, they're not getting behind these guys. We have a guy like Teddy Atlas who has Terrence Crawford on one side of him, on the other side of him, sitting there saying a guy with 11 fights is better than both of them. That's a problem, in my opinion. And I stress the word, my opinion. And you're on the largest network in the world, and you got Teddy Atlas, and I say largest network, I mean largest sports network in the world, and you got Teddy Atlas saying a guy with 11 fights is a better fighter than Andre Ward, who has had a storied career, just beat one of the most dangerous fighters in the world, unified titles. Terrence Crawford just unified his division. And then you got a guy who beat Mariaga. And then Teddy Atlas in the same breath is saying this guy's the best fighter in the world. What about Andre Ward and Terrence Crawford? So that's the perfect opportunity to push these two guys and give these guys credit and respect for what they've done. But with Teddy Atlas, without giving it a second thought, this guy's the best fighter in the world, Terrence Crawford. Vasily Lomachenko. That's a problem. That's a problem. But in fairness, it has to be a two-way street. And, for whatever reason, it's just not. It shouldn't be, but it has to be. Andre Ward was notorious for not giving interviews, which is why I believe that he never got the credit he deserved. To me, he's the pound-for-pound best. If he comes back, he's still number one. The only reason he's not number one now is he's retired.
to me, he was always the pound for pound best. I had him even when everybody considered Floyd pound for pound best. I had Andre Ward. But the thing is with Ward, again, is this a lack of, hey, they just won't talk to media? Because that plays a part in it. And granted, like Lomachenko and Triple G and stuff like that, they don't speak English, but they got their handlers speaking for them. Their handlers are definitely, Loeffler's out there giving everybody interviews. They air them the same way. I think that plays a difference. And I think because of their handlers, they're more popular. I don't think that, again, man, we don't know what there's no formula as to what's going to make somebody like you. There's no formula as to what makes somebody going to put down their hard-earned money and come and see you. We don't know the formula. If we did, everybody be doing it, but you don't know the formula. You know what I mean? It's unpredictable. So for you to say, I think for somebody to say that what's because I'm black and everything, while I don't know if he believes that or not, I think it's a controversial statement, and I think that's good. But if people are really saying that, it's because he's black, he's not getting the run or the push, or because he's not foreign, he's not getting the push, I don't necessarily agree with that. You know what I mean? I just think that, he has to do a little bit more work to promote himself. And hire a promoter. It can't hurt. It can only help you.
But it was the same thing when Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, when all that hype was swirling around them two, they fought. All of the media was painting Floyd out to be the ducker, the coward, the bad guy. And all the while, Manny Pacquiao, his hands were not clean in this whole situation. There was a lot of things that he said and went back on. Why did it take him 7 years to agree to take a drug test? And ultimately he ended up taking the drug tests and being tested. Why all of a sudden was 60-40 okay, but it wasn't before? Him saying that he was afraid of needles and then he had tattoos. And again, I'm not taking sides, but it's like one guy was made to be the bad guy, and then America, all the American, the media and all the American fans predominantly were, putting Manny Pacquiao up on the pedestal. Meanwhile, they were downgrading everything Floyd Mayweather did. Clearly, Floyd Mayweather is a better fighter than Manny Pacquiao. Clearly, he generated more revenue for the sport of boxing. Clearly, he did better pay-per-view numbers than Manny Pacquiao. But everyone downplayed Floyd Mayweather, and they gave Manny Pacquiao the shine. He was given the benefit of the doubt. And let me ask you this. If Floyd Mayweather got knocked out by Juan Manuel Marquez, would he still be given a second chance? Would people still want to see him fight Manny Pacquiao? Or would they be saying he doesn't deserve to fight Manny Pacquiao, he just got knocked out? Whereas people were willing to put that behind them, and they still got behind Manny Pacquiao. All the American press, all the American fans, all of these media websites, and Floyd Mayweather was still being downgraded and downplayed and diminished and degraded, while Manny Pacquiao was still being put up on that pedestal. And that's a really good point, and I think it's a strong argument that you can make. And I think that other fighters look at that, and they will point to race. They will point to race, because I hate to say this, because I hate getting involved in these subjects because it's very touchy. Mm-hmm. But Conor McGregor, he's very outspoken. He talks a lot of trash. People love him for that. But when Floyd Mayweather did it, he was obnoxious. He was rude. He was very cringeworthy, or whatever you want to call him, anything negative. That's what he was when he did it. But they got behind Conor McGregor. So that's why I think you have fighters like Deontay Wilder saying these things, because they're looking back at those two things, those two examples that I just mentioned. And they're trying to, look at that and say, I can apply this to myself. Because if they're doing it to these guys, who's to say they're not doing it to me? Whether I agree with it 100%, that's another question. But I could see why the framework is there and why things are being said, whether they're true or not.
Well, I would tell you this in the Mayweather Pacquiao thing, or Mayweather and just insert any other fight in his career. Mayweather is the bad guy. There's no question that's what he wanted. He wanted to be painted as the bad guy. So, given that fact, of course he's going to be the heel. So, of course the other guy is going to get the shine. Of course, we're all going to tune in to see if the other guy has a chance or the other guy gets knocked. People tuned in to watch Mayweather get beat. They didn't tune in to watch him win. So he's the bad guy. So that's why, that's why he was treated that way in the media. He wanted to be treated that way. He's the bad guy. It wasn't until recently when he says, hey, he's kind of calmed all the trash talk down and everything like that. I mean, he said with Diego Corrales, he said he was going to, when he was involved in a domestic dispute, he went in that on a press conference. He said he was in a slave contract with HBO when he was making millions of dollars. I mean, some of the outlandish stuff he said was done for that reason. I mean, he's the bad guy and he knows, people pay to see the bad guy get beat. So I don't even know that we can really say that, the press didn't like him or the press did this or that or whatever the case may be. I mean, this was kind of his picture that he painted. So we can't really say that, hey, the press was down on him or the people were down on him because he was this or that. This was the picture he painted for himself.
But then they would make statements like, okay, he waited for Manny Pacquiao to get old before he fought him. But he's older than Manny Pacquiao. And not only that, didn't Canelo do the same thing to Triple G? Didn't he wait for Triple G to get old and look bad before he fought him? But no, everyone's like, oh, this is a great fight. This fight is happening at the right time. So it's just like, it's the double standards, Eric, is what I'm saying.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you because I always thought the fight was I thought the fight was kind of a mismatch too, in the sense that he was just knocked out by Juan Manuel Marquez. There's no way he's done. There's no way he's coming back and beating Floyd after that. No way. Robert, what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
Okay. I hate to get into this subject because I'm not a racist person, never have been, never will be. And I can understand why Deontay feels this way, but let me run down some recent heavyweight history, folks. The greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali, he was black. Larry Holmes, 20 successful title defenses, he was black. Mike Tyson, he was black. Riddick Bowe, he was black. Evander Holyfield, he was black. I don't think race plays anything into this. The heavyweight division up until recently, if you want to look at it from a racial point of view, had been dominated mostly by black people, up until the Klitschko's, got the title and of course Vladimir hung on to it for a decade. Up until then, I hate the fact that I even have to say this, but it was dominated by black fighters. I mean, I can't. I understand why he's saying it, but I can't buy it because, as I said, I've been watching boxing since March 8, 1971, and most of the significant fights that took place in the heavyweight division, 9 times out of 10 involved a black fighter. So I think it's horrible for him to say this. He's not paying attention to heavyweight history. Now, I firmly believe that he's a good fighter. I don't like a lot of his title defenses. I think he should be, stepping up his competition. I don't know if Luis Ortiz is going to provide him with any kind of difficulty. I don't think we'll really find out what Deontay Wilder has to offer the American boxing public until he steps in with who I feel is the true heavyweight champion. And what are people going to say when that fight finally occurs and Joshua wins that? Are they going to say, Wilder wasn't what he cracked up to be? Or are they going to make other excuses? In my opinion, until that fight happens, Deontay Wilder is always going to have questions. because I think Joshua is the only one that can answer questions, and I think Wilder is the only one that can answer questions for Joshua, because even those that we all respected the Klitschko performance, but now I can see the boxing public going, well, he beat a 41-year-old guy. Let's see what he can do against, somebody that's, closer to his own age. I could see the boxing public going back and forth on that. And that's why in 2018, this fight has to eventually happen. But I think Deontay Wilder also has got to realize that he is the B side in this equation, and he's going to have to travel in order to make this fight happen.
There you go. There you go. All right, let's shoot it out to the phones here. Area code 508. 508.
Hey, yo, what's happening, people?
Congratulations, Georgie. You're a man of your word, man.
Georgie.
What's going on, guys?
Love it.
Let's address the elephant in the room. You got to take it from Beeb. You heard Eric? You got to take it from Beeb. Until you don't defeat Beeb, you're not really king, baby.
I did. I beat him. I beat him. I beat him. He took a pie. He bowed down to the king, Daddy.
He have to accept the bet on a pie bet, and then if you beat him,
He
then
did.
you definitely,
You missed it. He
undisputed.
accepted it. I am undisputed, son. Undefeated, undisputed king.
Change it to a no contest.
No,
Change it to
I understand what he means there.
not no contest.
He wants you
what
and
does he
Beeb
mean,
to
Rob?
have a pie bet.
He did.
And,
He took a pie.
Wait, hold on, cause we gotta explain the listeners. There's a lineage to this.
A lineage.
Pie bet
You're looking at
situation
TBE. That's the
somewhere else.
lineage, son. I'm TBE.
Listen. Listen, there is a lineage to this fight championship. I took it from G.
I got it. What are you?
Took it from me. So and now that I lost, I became a motherfucking journeyman. That's okay. I'm gonna become like Bruce Lee, Rebirth of the Dragon, baby. 2018, here I come. Well, let me talk about Wilder real quick, man, because this situation with Wilder, you say he's a likable guy. I disagree. This is the situation. If you talk about performance-wise, what AJ did against Klitschko, like you say, that could be one of the biggest, more excitement fight we ever seen in the heavyweight division. It's up there. You know, we rumble on the jungle on the whole nine. You could put it up there performance-wise. So while they don't have that, so if you don't got this type of performance, what you bring to the table then? To be popular, so people to like you. So you got to go with personality. Sometimes you see Deontay Wilder really nice, smiling, and all of a sudden you see him mad. It's like he got double personality. And people see that, because then you're like, well, who's really this dude? This person, or he's the other person? You know what I'm saying? So sometimes like, oh, inside the ring, I'm a killer. I'm the bronze bomber. I'm going to kill you. Blah, 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 blah. But you know what I'm saying? He sort of like comes the wrong way when he talks like that. So if personality is kind of fucked up, and you don't got really the fights out there for people to love you, I don't care how many reality shows you do. Yeah. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Yes, it is, man. Another shit I want to talk about is the knockout of the year. Because when we talk about knockouts, you have to be with a wow factor. Like, wow, that looked fucking amazing. That was you know what I'm saying? That was a awesome knockout. That was something that really, like, you didn't expect, like, shock you. The way you put that person down. That was the way that we're supposed to, like, judge a knockout of the year. And then on the second criterion that, you have to put what the significance of the knockout. Cause when what's the name of the dude who knocked out Chocolatito?
Rung Vasai.
Run the side.
I can't even pronounce that shit. Anyways, that dude, what he did, he knocked out the so-called pound for pound dude, even though he beat him before. So it wasn't in a fashion that nobody really expected, but the significance of that knockout is more than the child against Lubin and the Lemieux KO. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you got a wow factor and the significance of the KO. So you have.
No, I understand where you're going with that. That makes sense.
Yeah, you have to. You know what I'm saying? You gotta like try to label these two teams to select the knockout of the year. And the fight of the year, that's clearly AJ Klitschko. That was the fight of the year. Excitement all around. Nothing dull about the whole fight. It was fucking magnificent. That was a fucking, I don't know, the best fight I've seen in a long time. Now, besides that, I really don't got too much to say. I pay Eric. If you guys go and put the video, people give the thumb up and help these people out. I don't have a lot to say. And I'll see you next year.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. George, he paid up the bet too. He paid it up. He's all square. All square. We'll put that on Beating the Odds with Beeb today or tomorrow. It'll be up there soon. Okay, let's go to our next caller here. 111. This could be Wood. Maybe somebody else. I don't know. 111.
Yeah, how you doing, Eric?
Hey, Suleiman,
how are ya?
Yeah, how you doing? Listen,
Good,
yeah. So to get into also a fight, like, you know, like some guys are very like, you know, to continue what Georgie was saying, like Gabe Rosado, right? He's a risk taker, even though he might not be the best fighter. I mean, he signs fights and he gives competitive fights, even though he loses. I mean, we need to see more risk taking from these heavyweights. These heavyweights are not taking risks. Like, look at the fight with Glenn Tapia. Glenn Tapia thought he was going to win the fight, and he took that risk and he won that fight and he looked good, you know. So I wanted to see a guy like Deontay Wilder, even though if he comes in as a B-class fighter, take the fight with Joshua and prove yourself, prove us wrong. I mean, I want to see him go in there and start landing with right hands and bust up Joshua and win that fight, even though he gets a couple of million compared to like what Joshua's getting. But at the end of the day, he's gonna get that win, and then he's gonna get a big payday in the second fight. Or that's how the game is. Buster Douglas did that with Tyson. He took a little payday, went in there, knocked out Tyson, and then he got a huge payday against Holyfield. So I want to see guys taking risks. I mean, they should make a category for that in the risk take of the year. I would like to see a category like that in the year, because I mean, Gabe Rosado took a big risk against Glenn Tapia and he knocked him out. You know, I would like to see something like that, a category for risk taker. Because who in your opinion, Eric, besides Gabe Rosado, took risk this year? Who you think?
That's a good one, man. That's
Canelo.
Canelo, yeah, Canelo took a big risk fighting Triple G.
He's another one. He took a huge risk.
Yeah,
that was a risk. Hell yeah,
very big risk.
I think he won that one because he's a monster, bro. This guy, the Triple G, he got that aura about him. He scares the crap out of people, man.
Yeah,
he got that aura about him. He went in there. That's true. You're right about that.
Yeah, Andre Ward with Sergey Kovalev.
You guys have a great night, man.
All right, you too, man. You too.
Sergey Kovalev. All right. I mean, I could continue with that, man. Sergey, if you let me continue, I'll continue.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
go ahead.
Sergey Kovalev. The thing with Sergey Kovalev, his fights right there, he got too proud of himself, right? Like everybody's saying, "Oh, you the man, you the man, you the man." So now this guy comes up, okay, and he drops him, okay, and then when he drops the guy right away, that you're the man, you're the man, it was in his mind, and he couldn't adapt because all he had to do was pop that jab and continue, and he would have won that knockout. But by him not doing that, this guy changed his whole game plan, right? And then in the second fight, he wasn't there because he lost his O. Everything about Sergey was that O. He lost that O, and that was a wrap. Some fighters, they lose the O, it's not the same no more. With Sergey, or everything was that O. When he lost that O to Andrew Ward, it was a wrap. All he had to do was continue, follow up on the damage that he did in that fight, and he would have won that fight. But it wasn't there because a lot of fighters, they get to the top and they start to deteriorate. That's the thing that's great about Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather didn't allow himself to deteriorate. When it got hot, when he was in the kitchen and it was hot, he went back to the basic. He went back to his popping his jab, boxing. He didn't care what people say. Oh, he's running. All these comments that people say. He went to his boxing and he won the fight. Terence Crawford, he won this year in a ESPN because the same thing. He's not afraid to box. He's not afraid to go soft on box a couple of rounds. You know what I'm saying? Look for openings like what he did to Julius in time. He got lucky. He caught him with a punch, and Julius wasn't expecting. He won that fight, and he kept moving. He kept moving on. That's how way you got to be. This is boxing. It's not MMA. It's not karate. It's not. The fundamentals is the basics. These guys got to go back to their basics and win. Like Deontay, he should forget about the hype. Try to get this Luis Ortiz, knock him out, and then sign the fight. The fight's there. The fight for Auntie Java is there. It's not gonna be like a big payday. If he gets 10 mil, go sign that fight. If the guy gives me 10 mil, we're gonna give you 10 mil plus the pay-per-view or whatever they give him, a little extra revenue, and take the fight, knock out Joshua. Joshua's there for knocking out. Because even if Joshua blocks the punches, he's gonna create knockdowns because he did it to Stavern. Stavern blocked that punch. One of the punches in the second knockdown, and he still went down. The guy has tremendous power. He just needs to sign the fight to prove it. And then after that, who else is up in the heavyweight division after he knocks out Joshua? He probably get a rematch if Joshua wants to sign it. And who else? Parker's not going to run. Parker will probably vacate. Who else is there? There's no competition. So he's going to be knocking them out like dominoes after that. Yeah. So you guys have a great night. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Suleiman.
Happy New Year.
That's a good point. I tell you, that's a really good point that he had with risk taker of the year. And again, I thought Canelo, like you said, Canelo took a risk fighting Triple G. That was a big risk. Stuff like that. And I think that a lot of times gets overlooked. And he's right. I mean, that's a big deal. And
well, that brings up a very good point, Eric, because of Canelo taking a risk and doing as well as he did and getting a draw out of that. Now, a lot of people have questions now that need to be answered with Golovkin because, Triple G had a very difficult fight with Danny Jacobs. He barely won that on the scorecards. And then they have the draw with Canelo, even though I want to throw that one judge scorecard completely out because it was so ridiculous. But now in 2018, Gennady Golovkin a year ago didn't have a whole lot of questions to answer. But now in 2018, he's got to answer some significant questions. He's got to go in there and do as well as he did the first time around, if not better, against Canelo. And then after beating Canelo, instead of taking the Billy Joe Saunders fight, he's got to give Daniel Jacobs a rematch because Daniel Jacobs is the odd man out here. He earned a rematch and he still hasn't gotten it. In 2018, I think Golovkin's got to answer both of those questions, and he's the fighter in the 2018 calendar year that's got more questions to answer because of those two performances in 2017.
Igloo 2 in the chat just said Canelo was actually forced to take the fight, speaking of the Triple G fight. And 100% he was not forced to take that fight. He had no title at stake. He had no title. He had been stripped of all the titles. He had no title at stake. He absolutely 100% did not have to take that fight, and he could have made the same money anywhere else. He took the fight, and I think he should be commended for that. That was not a fight he had to take. He took it because he wanted that fight, and maybe perhaps wanted that payday too. So I'm sure he made a little more money than he would have made against Lemieux or somebody like that. So And he said, "What about Charlo?" He said, "Why didn't he fight Charlo?" Well, the Charlos are on the outside looking in right now. I mean, you got to think about, you have the Charlos that are on the other side of the street, but, be that as it may, you have this fight in front of you. I mean, they're not mega fight, they're not mega money fights. So, yeah, who are you going to take, Triple G or one of the Charlos? I mean, it's.
Oh, just moved up and he just won a title. I mean, he didn't win a title. He just won an eliminator. So
Right. So.
Yeah, he's the mandatory for the IBF now.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
So just won an eliminator. So I mean, he's only had one fight at middleweight. So who's to say it's not going to happen? It's just not going to happen right now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And even Tom Loeffler has said in interviews, if the rematch doesn't happen, we're going to fulfill our mandatories.
Yeah, they have to. I mean, what else are they going to do?
And they've always had. So we have nothing but no reason to not believe them.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why he's feeling. I don't want why he's going after. Why he's not going after Billy Joe Saunders, and that may be what happens is if the Canelo fight falls through, he may go after Billy Joe Saunders.
I think Daniel Jacobs is going to get that Billy Joe Saunders fight. I think that's what's going to happen.
I don't know. They'd have to pay Saunders an awful lot of money to do that one. And there's no guarantee one way or the other. That's a good fight. That's a 50-50 fight, man. That's a good fight. So we'll see. Area code 404. You're live.
Yeah, thanks for letting me on, man. Enjoying the conversation. Deontay Wilder. Look, there's a lot of complicated stuff with that. Like, this is not a simple thing.
Real quick.
Get across.
Real quick. What's your name?
What's up?
What's your name?
This is Naj.
Naj.
Atlanta.
Gotcha. Naj from Atlanta. Nice to have you on the show, buddy.
Indeed, man. But the thing with Wilder is you got to look at two really big aspects. Number one is most boxing fans, and I think we can all kind of agree on this, they're kind of in on Wilder, but they also don't believe. And we're all kind of really, we hold our opinions tight to our chest because we don't want to put it out there that this is the guy, and then he gets knocked out. So a lot of people believe in Wilder to a degree, but they don't fully believe in Wilder. So he's got that playing against him. The second part, one of your callers referenced earlier, he couldn't figure out what personality he wanted to take on as a fighter, what character he wanted to take on. So he's kind of, been the mean guy, then he's been the intellectual, heartwarming guy sometime in interviews. So he's never really picked a spot. And it's like you suspend disbelief at that point. It's kind of like that old Bruce Willis movie. If somebody told you he was dead before you watched the movie, that would take away all the excitement of the movie. So he never has figured out a personality, stuck with it, and wrote it out. Now, Floyd, he cracked the code on personality. He figured out as the villain, people will pay to want to see me get beat up. And because of that, Floyd was able to become a bankable fighter, even though he was a defensive fighter and a technical boxer at the same damn time. Not necessarily the most exciting. So for Floyd to pull that off, he had to figure all of that out. That goes beyond the firms and all of that stuff behind you. Your personality and how you want to be seen by the fans is the biggest factor in whether your Q rating rises. So that's something that Wilder's going to have to figure out. Now, the race part, I think I need to correct some things on that. Now, look, we're in America, man. So there are factors in just about damn near anything to where race comes in. How much or how little, it depends on whatever topic you're talking about. Like with this, think about it like this. It's the phenomena of something different. So if you get a Tiger Woods playing golf, that's something different. That makes Tiger even more popular than he would have been as just a good golfer. If you get an NFL running back who's a white guy who runs for 2,000 yards, the NFL would love it because that would be one of the biggest stars in America. Why? Because it's not expected. You don't expect to see a white running back. You don't expect to see the black golfer. So the boy Deontay Wilder, yes, you're a black heavyweight. That's the norm. If he was a white heavyweight from America, yes, that would be another aspect to his career that would make him more popular to a degree because it's a phenomenal thing to see. But the mistake he makes, I guess, in kind of breaking this down was he took it as, well, if I was just white, I'd be more popular. It's like, yes, that's one factor, but you also have to have the fight game too. Larry Bird's not a big deal if he averages 10 points. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So the phenomenon has to be exceptional too. That's the other part of it. And with Wilder, we're still not convinced. And look, we're at a downtime in boxing. I think we can all agree on that because so much of the talent pool goes into MMA and football and all these other things, not like the 70s and 80s where boxing was drawing from this huge talent pool. So things are a little diluted right now. Some fighters can fight a little, up in age because, some of the talent's not there. but the infrastructure is in place. We're just waiting on the next great fighter. We get the next Tyson with social media and easy shareable highlights and clips. A good heavyweight boxer will be one of the most popular people on earth. We just waiting on the fighter right now, but the infrastructure is in place. But don't be scared of conversations when race comes up, because we're American. We've all experienced it. We know, certain things are racialized and certain things aren't. I just think the whole just the term race card at its onset, it already gives the idea of, well, here go black folks complaining again. Mm-hmm. And it's like, look, man, black folks ain't been inventing stuff for 200 years. There's aspects of race in America that should be corrected, and hopefully we're on the way there. But a guy like Deontay Wilder, man, he's gonna have to prove it in the ring. And I'd be seriously scared to lay some money down on him against Joshua, because I just don't believe in him, man. And I know there's a lot of fight fans who share that same idea. Now, after he wins that fight, hey, I might be all in, as the other caller said at that point. But as of right now, he got to make me a believer, and he ain't done it yet.
I think that's the thing. I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, that's it. He's not, he's not believable in the sense that, you see him and you watch him fight, and he's got killer power, but he's so flawed. He's such a flawed fighter. Yeah. Whereas when I see Joshua's got power, he's got the pedigree, he's got the boxing ability, and you've seen him fight better competition and get better. I've seen Deontay fight one type of competition and just railroad these guys. And it's just think about how long it took us to embrace the Klitschko. How long were we kind of hesitant to put both feet in on the Klitschkos and saying, oh, they're good, but this is a down era in heavyweights. But then after the KOs and constantly proving themselves over the years, we finally, came to give it up to the Klitschkos and put them in the history books as well. So it takes time too, man. You gotta have the work. I'll be honest. The only time I put the Klitschko in the history book was after the fight with Joshua. I
think Vladimir Klitschko earned a lot more respect because he lost.
Yeah.
Compared to what it would be had he actually won. I think losing actually helps his legacy.
Yeah, it was better than all his wins put together.
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
Because of the way
I'm just saying, it took a long time. Everything. These guys ran the division for damn near a decade. And I think we all agree it was a down period, but being great during a down period, I mean, that's all you can do. It's just like Floyd. When Floyd starts talking his best ever pound for pound, and you kind of laugh like, Floyd, you didn't fight in the 80s in that era of just, you know what I mean?
Right.
Hall of Famers at every turn, dude. Like, I don't even know how he makes his mouth to claim #1 all time, but I mean, most people wouldn't argue top 30 for him,
Oh, yeah. He's one of the best. I think he's one of the best. And could he have fought in any era? I believe he could have. I believe that he was, is he the best fighter ever? It's tough to say. What criteria do you give on that? How many Hall of Famers did you beat?
You put him in the 80s. Does he walk out with an O? I seriously doubt it.
No, because no, he does not walk out with an O. Absolutely not.
I always thought Thomas Hearns was a bad matchup for him. I always thought Thomas Hearns would have been a bad matchup for Floyd. But you could argue, hey, we saw with Diego Corrales, he wasn't a bad matchup for him at all. But I think Hearns and Corrales, two different animals. But yeah.
That's right.
two different fighters there, man. Maybe the same body type, but way two different fighters.
Freak of nature, tall, long, with power.
Yeah. I always thought Hearns was a bad
doing a good show, man. I'm enjoying listening to the show, man. But yeah, man, I definitely want to see how this plays out. I want to hear y'all, talk more about boxing and some of these. Want to hear some of the other callers, man. Good job, though.
Awesome.
Well, hey,
so
since
much,
you're
man.
new, we're normally on every Sunday, man. So stay tuned.
Absolutely, man.
No, we'll do, man.
Great to have you on the show, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Very good, man. How about that? Yeah, and he makes a lot of sense, man. He really does. He makes a lot of sense. It's a slippery slope.
Eric, like with some of the fighters I mentioned earlier, people got behind those fighters because of what they did in the ring. It didn't matter. And now in Ali's case, it might have mattered when he first started because of the time he was fighting. But Larry Holmes and a few other people, once they proved their stuff in the ring, the public who followed boxing got behind those people. All Wilder has to do, if he wants to win fans over, is take the fight that we want him to take, go in and actually prove how good he is, and then the publicity will follow.
Well, you know what's funny is that and when you were going and you had said, you know, you were talking about, you said, I don't know if you said Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, Larry Holmes, you know, Evander Holyfield, Riddick Bowe, and they were all
Mike Tyson.
Yeah, Mike Tyson. They were all black champions and everything like that. But the one thing that struck me as you're rattling this off, and I said, well, out of those guys, who were household names? I think a lot of people know Larry Holmes. Everybody knows Mike Tyson. Everybody knows Evander Holyfield.
Right.
Riddick Bowe, maybe
Riddick Bowe was a stretch, but you know,
maybe Larry Holmes. I think most people know Larry Holmes. So those guys were household names. But Vladimir Klitschko, Vitaly Klitschko.
Oh, and I forgot to mention Ken Norton.
Yeah,
who is involved in that? You know,
and I would say no on the Klitschkos. If you ask, you know, to ask somebody who's not a boxing fan, Frank Bruno, yeah, in the UK, definitely.
Lennox Lewis, you know.
Yeah, Lennox Lewis, definitely a household name over there. But the Klitschkos, I don't think they're a household name. And they're two white guys.
They're a household name to boxing fans, but they wouldn't be a household name to most of America. No.
Not at all. Not at all. And those are two regular white guys. Those are as plain as white as you can get.
Right.
You know, so it's hard it's hard to say that race kind of plays an issue when you have that. You have two white guys that are complete unknowns to the mainstream. You know, that's a tough one. But I think that, you know, like I said, the hardworking guy like a Floyd Mayweather who gets his name out there and everything like that. That's at the end, you know, you have to have people working for you, you know. So
Actually, I wish Floyd would do that for his fighters instead of promoting himself. I wish he'd start doing that for his fighters. Yeah,
he does have a tendency. He does have a tendency to self-promote him, you know, to self-promote rather than promote his guys. But, you know, that being said, we think that Badu Jack is going to get the nod against Adonis Stevenson. So he's doing right by Badu Jack. Gervonta Davis, we're getting to know him a little bit more. Hopefully, you know, Davis keeps out of trouble and gets another fight soon. But, yeah, I think so. I think that, you know, I'd like to see his fighters do well. That's for sure, you know. Let's talk, since we're on the subject of Deontay Wilder, he is fighting Louis Ortiz, and that is set for March 3rd at the Barclays Center. This fight, of course, was supposed to happen. Ortiz tested positive for drugs. Fight doesn't happen for PEDs, as it were. And but the WBC says he's clear now, and he's now the fighter that Deontay Wilder is going to fight. Now we talked about Deontay Wilder's competition, and a lot of this is him, but a lot of this isn't him because. To be fair, he's had a few fights set up. 3 guys tested positive while he was going to fight him. So not all of this is his fault. But Louis Ortiz is going to be the biggest test of his career so far. A bigger test than Stavern. Stavern is the biggest name on Wilder's resume. Now Ortiz will be. I like this fight. I think that Ortiz is there to be had. I've never really been that impressed with Ortiz. But I think this is a great fight for Deontay Wilder. This is the kind of fight that he needs. This is a step-up fight for him. This really is, to me, this is a step-up fight for Deontay Wilder. Robert, what are your thoughts on this fight?
You know, I've gone back and forth on Louis Ortiz more times than I can count.
Yeah.
When we first got exposed to Louis Ortiz, I was impressed with his power and the way he fought people. But then he fought Malik Scott on HBO, and it was one of the most boringest fights I'd ever watched in my life. It's 36 minutes of my life I'll never get back. He literally did nothing in that fight, and he's been kind of up and down ever since that point. I don't know whether he lied about his age and he's older than what we're being told, and he just doesn't have it anymore, or what. You know, at first I thought, well, this will be an interesting test for Wilder because he's going to face somebody that's got some power. But the more I think about it, this might turn into another Deontay Wilder cakewalk. Beeb is better at breaking down fights than I am, but I don't see this as his biggest test anymore, just because of what has gone on with Luis Ortiz's career. And this is the second time, by the way, he's tested positive for something, and both times he's been bailed out for it. So I don't know. I think this might turn out to be another easy night for Wilder. And I'm sorry to say that, because I want to see Wilder face some adversity. But Beeb, you're the best guy at breaking down fights. What kind of chance does Luis Ortiz have to give Deontay Wilder the kind of fight we'd like to see him in?
Well, the thing about Luis Ortiz is what people overlook about him, because he's labeled as the killer. But the thing about it is he's more or less a counterpuncher. He's a guy that uses a lot of range. He'll come forward, but he won't go all the way in. He's not an inside fighter, a guy who throws a lot of punches. He's not an overly aggressive guy. He has sneaky, surprise-like power, particularly with that left hand. And, let's look at all these fights. Besides the Brian Jennings knockout, what other really spectacular highlight reel type fight have we ever gotten out of him? He's had a lot of uneventful performances. And the thing about Wilder is, he makes mistakes. He can get sloppy. Sometimes he's off balance. But a few things he's improved on. I think, and I've said this several times, he hasn't really improved a ton defensively. But offensively, he's improved. The way he's delivering these punches. Yeah, you can call him Windmill Wilder, and he gets wild and stuff. But let's look at the times when he, really fights smart, and he'll throw punches the way they're supposed to be thrown. And you could see when he wants to, he can be a very technical fighter, skilled fighter. For instance, fight, although, we can criticize the opponent, whatever, but his jab was on point that fight. He was really measured. He was varying it up, the placement of it, the speed of it. And he was really working the jab outstandingly in that fight. And even in the second fight, the rematch, the first knockdown was a picture-perfect 1-2. And that right hand was thrown, And even in the Spielka fight, where he didn't have much space, he was able to change the trajectory of that punch, and he just squeezed it off with such a small amount of room, and he was able to still turn it over and generate that one-punch knockout power. A tall guy like that being able to generate that power without having to fully extend the right hand. So offensively, particularly with the jab, and particularly with the way he delivers that right hand, it's not just that bow and arrow type 1-2 he used to throw early on his career. His offense has improved a little bit. He's never been a really good left hook puncher, but also inside, he's starting to throw that left uppercut and also the right uppercut. And he's throwing the jab to the body. So offensively, I think he's improved a lot. And you could say, well, how can you judge that, Beeb? He hasn't really stepped up the opposition. I'm seeing how he's disposing of guys. Washington fight, maybe he wanted to get rounds in. I don't know. But you get the sense when he does decide, hey, I'm going to get this guy out, it doesn't take much for him to get this guy out. It didn't take much for him to get, Gerald Washington out of there when he decided, I'm going to get this guy out of there. So with that being said, let me break this fight down. Luis Ortiz, 6'4", pretty long arms, counterpuncher, likes to fight predominantly on the outside. Not a really big mover, obviously. How many heavyweights do move? A lot. But, he makes a lot of subtle movements. He'll slip a punch, catch and shoot a little bit, but he likes to suck you into the left hand. That's the bread and butter. That's the bread and butter with Luis Ortiz is that sneaky left hand that he has. I think his jab is okay. He's looking for you to make that first move, and he's looking for you to go all the way in. But the problem is Wilder is so tall and lanky that he doesn't have to go all the way in, and he can generate power from the outside. He can measure Luis Ortiz with the jab. He can throw feints. He doesn't have to go wild against Luis Ortiz. He could start the fight out slow. And from wherever he wants to in that ring, he can deliver that knockout blow, whether it be from the outside, whether it be from the long right hand. Because if you look at that Ortiz, that Stavern fight, all three knockouts, different areas of the ring, they were different types of knockouts. He got up close. The first knockout was from long range. The second knockdown, he got up close and he just started reeling on Stavern. So I think he's going to fight a little bit more measured against Ortiz. I think he's going to fight a little bit more methodical. Obviously, I think he's going to fight differently. He's going to fight smarter. I think he's going to pace himself. Success on the outside because he's going to have to utilize his reach. And he's not going to have much problems keeping Ortiz on the outside because Ortiz is not going to want to go all the way in. So he's going to try and pot shot against the taller guy, against the quicker guy. And that's a tall task when you have a more athletic fighter and you're trying to be the counterpunch. You're going to have impeccable timing, and you're going to have to catch the guy perfectly to be able to hurt him, stop him, knock him out, and land one of them game-changing, fight-changing punches. So, Malik Scott got hit with some shots against Ortiz. I think he got knocked down in that fight, if I'm not mistaken. He got up, and he was able to weather the storm. So I'm just seeing Wilder, being able to pick Ortiz apart from the outside, and then eventually, he's going to wear him down. He's going to keep picking, and those shots are going to take their toll. I think later in the fight, he'll be able to soften him up for the one punch. The right hand is going to finish him in the 10th or 11th round, and I see Ortiz getting knocked out late in this fight because I think Wilder will measure him very well from the outside. And I think he'll be one step ahead. And I think Ortiz is going to have a hard time, countering Wilder. And if he decides he's going to wait on Wilder, he's going to get picked apart from the outside. That's just my opinion.
Do you think that we're finally seeing the Mark Breland on Wilder with the jab and everything like that and kind of the boxing coming together?
I think that we started to see it, a lot. I think it started really in the Stavern fight, the first one. And I think since then, it's blossomed even more. And you know what? You can sit there and say he gets wild and does this and that. All what he's about.
Right.
He could do so much more than that. I think a lot of that, I think once, he's in control, that's when he starts doing that. It's not like he just jumps in there right from the beginning and just starts throwing haymakers and dervish from Jump Street. He starts doing those things when he has his opponent hurt, when he feels as though he's in control and he's not in danger. That's when he starts getting a little bit wild and showboating kind of. But about it. This guy is very athletic. He may not do everything pretty. Punch. And this guy is in great shape. Tired. And until someone shows me that, he can be hurt. Obviously, he can be hurt, but until someone really shows me a chink in his armor, so he's never been put in a situation like Joshua has against Klitschko. So until I see a situation like that, and he doesn't come back from it, then I can only assume that this guy, there's no question about it. Hit guys at the body language and how they're going down, as it being short-circuited. He's not the biggest guy in the world. Obviously, he's tall, 20 pounds on a 6'7" frame. Weights, they're 230, 240, 250. So he's not a big heavyweight. I mean, Ortiz, right? And for him to be a tall, lanky guy and be able to generate power, a la Tommy Hearns and a la Mark Breland. Mark Breland had some good power for a tall, thin guy. So until I really see him show a glaring weakness and someone's able to exploit that, then I'm going to have to assume that this guy's still dangerous.
Yeah.
He's still a dangerous fighter, without question.
Very good. Very good. Zeus Shimmy, Robin's boy. This week it was reported that that Zhu Shiming went blind during a flight. It was a flight from Beijing or to Beijing or something like that. It was. It looks like it's temporary, but still very scary. Obviously, you don't ever want to hear that a fighter goes blind. But the story gets deeper because Zhu Shiming's wife said in a conversation that broken bones were found in Zhu's eye socket, and doctors also suspected his optic nerve was damaged. But according to messages, Zhu suffered similar injuries in 2014. But at that time, Zhu needed to fight as the bout had been arranged by his agent. So he had to fight. It was almost like he's being forced to fight, they're saying. After the match, the doctor suggested that Zhu stop fighting or the boxer risked becoming blind. His wife also said the agent owed them money relating to Zhu's career earnings, but declined to go into details. Of course, the other party, and she also treating him like a money machine, not necessarily a human being. Of course, his agent and everybody else has denied this, but some shady things going on over there. And he was promoted by Top Rank. Is he still promoted by Top Rank, or did they drop him?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
think so. I think they cut the cord.
Yeah, he never really lived up to his billing as a professional, man. I mean, he was one. What did he win? 2 or 3 gold medals or something like that?
Yeah,
and,
2 gold.
Something like that.
Just never really adopted to that pro style. But he's in a very difficult division too. That's a tough. That weight he's in is a very tough division. Yes.
But how are you made to fight? Like, so in other words, if he doesn't fight, like, are they? I'm confused. I mean, maybe
I am too, and she didn't go into details. That was from a Chinese newspaper, and she was claiming that he's being forced to fight. And that was the title and everything like that. But I didn't see anything where he was being forced, like at gunpoint, to fight. To me, if you're being forced to fight, you're at gunpoint. I think this was a little bit of embellishment, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's like that movie Bloodsport. Remember when they had his brother, and they said if you don't fight this guy, we're going to kill your brother. I mean,
yeah,
I'm trying to make a joke of it, but
right, no, exactly.
This is not the Jake LaMotta story where you get paid to throw a fight. The mafia is not involved here. Well, I mean, I don't know if I buy this story.
I don't know.
Very
Robbie throwing shade on China.
Skeptical.
Look at that.
Very skeptical. You weren't there.
Oh, Robbie throwing shade on the Chinese.
Please, you weren't even there.
What's the matter with you? It's a whole nother country. All right. Robert Easter versus Javier Fortuna is set for January 20th at the Barclays Center. Why they didn't take this fight and put it in Toledo, again, beyond me. Robert Easter does very good in Toledo, does very good numbers arena over there. So, but hey, they're going to put it in Barclays. I like Robert Easter in this fight. I don't think that I think it's a good fight, but I think that Robert Easter wins it, and he wins it pretty convincingly.
I like Robert Easter too.
Yeah, Robert Easter.
Yeah, no, this is a cakewalk for him, and they put it in the Barclays so he can be part of the telecast with Spence and Peterson and whatever else they decide to give us on that night.
Georgie just put in the chat, the power of the Chinese mafia, 1 billion people looking for Robbie now.
Yeah, well, let him look for me. I'm not hard to find.
Wow, Robbie calling out the Chinese.
Robbie is in an undisclosed location in California.
Undisclosed.
All you got to do is find his DirecTV bill and you get his address.
There you go. Your boy, Danny Garcia versus Brandon Rios, set for February 17th. This fight will take place in Las Vegas at the Mandalay Bay Event Center. I don't know about you, but I'm not really excited for this fight. It's a good comeback fight for Danny Garcia. Horrible fight for Brandon Rios.
Yeah, it's a weird fight.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Rios probably, I don't know, man. He's going to take a beating in this fight.
Maybe this will be the last time we see Brandon, which would be good. And see,
instead of Robbie, he wants everyone to be their last time when they fight.
Garcia goes. It seems like whatever crumbs they want to throw at him, he just takes and okay, no problem. But here I thought Danny was supposed to be this special fighter and come out and win multiple titles in multiple weight divisions, and, all this kind of stuff. And and now he just seems to take whatever crumbs that Al Heyman and the PBC want to give him. Danny deserves to be in better fights, but part of this you got to blame on Danny.
Put food on the table.
This is another guy. This is another guy that's got to take responsibility for his career. He needs to follow in Danny Jacobs' footsteps.
He just fought Thurman. That's all he lost.
Eric, if Robbie created video games, right? Everyone would only get one life. Every time someone loses.
Right, that's it. Just one. That was it.
Get rid of him.
That's it.
That's the last we should see of him.
That's it.
I mean, there's no tolerance. He has no tolerance for failure. He has no tolerance for mishap.
Last year,
and
then he's going to wait and fight until February.
Donald Trump, he wants to fire everybody.
He's got to be more active than that.
Maybe he was injured. Maybe he was injured. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he had an STD or something. I don't know.
Then show me the doctor's reports. Let me see the X-ray.
Oh my God!
Look at you.
This guy wants to get rid of. He wants to get rid of everyone's livelihood.
Ruthless.
What happens to me if I stutter on air one time, Robbie? Am I out of here too? Please?
We're going to change his name from Ringside Robert to Ruthless Robert. That's going to be your new name.
He wants to get rid of everybody when they lose. Oh, that's the best we see of him.
Robbie
come
wants
on.
If it was up to him, fights. We don't know fights, Eric.
Danny Garcia here. Come on, really?
Danny G. Garcia. It's a good fighter.
It's a great fight. Rios is a Mexican legend.
March
Mexican
4th,
legend.
2017 to February 17th, 2018. Really?
It was a tough fight. It's a tough fight for him. He's trying to get back.
Yeah. Paul Malignaggi was a tough fight for him. Rod Salka was a tough fight for him.
Rod Salka can fight.
Step up the level of his game, man.
Rod Salka had an off night. Give him, get off the guy's back. Will you please?
Right.
I mean, come on.
Let me tell you what. I'm going to go out on a
and
limb.
Your consolation prize is Brandon Rios.
Seriously?
Seriously?
I'm going to go out on a limb.
Who's next?
And say
Who's
that
next? Victor Ortiz?
I think
really?
Rod Salka could beat anybody on this panel. I'm just saying. I think he could beat me. I think he beats Beeb. I think he paced Robbie. I think Rod Salka beats anybody on the panel. I'm just saying. I'm pulling that out there.
Rod Salka could beat anyone in the office at my job. I mean, Rod Salka's he's a machine.
Oh, you know what? And Suleiman in the chat, and he just brought up a real good fight. He said that Danny Garcia should have fought Sam Eggington. That's a good fight.
Not a bad fight.
That's a good fight. I like that fight.
If Paulie can fight him, why not?
But I will tell you this. To Suleiman. Brandon Rios, like it or not, he's still a name, and I guarantee Danny Garcia is getting a bigger payday for that, and that's why he went that route. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, congratulations, Danny.
All right, and let's see here. One last one here. Carlos Baldomir in jail. This just makes your skin crawl. Former world champion Carlos Baldomir.
As a dad, this makes me sick.
Will remain in custody in a Santa Fe, Argentina jail while he's being investigated for the alleged key word there, crime of sexually abusing his daughter. So yeah, there's your Carlos Baldomir.
Fucking pervert, what he is.
Robert. All right, let's go. Area code 706. Any idea? 706.
Little pussies. What's going on?
Good evening, Jason.
There he is.
Man, I thought you finally forgot that lame ass soundtrack. Jeez.
I tried to get rid of it, Jason. I couldn't.
You tried to get rid of it.
He wouldn't let me do it, Jason.
That's Jim Lampley's trademark. You're gonna get sued if you do that too much.
Robbie hitting the button. Robbie.
I was in the production. I was in the production truck this morning. I couldn't find it. He hid it from me. I tried to get rid of it, Jason. I swear.
Soundtrack.
I'm on your side, Jason.
Guys, what are you guys discussing? I just missed your show. I had to go get some to eat, but what did you guys discuss recently, like the last 30 minutes?
Dare you?
You just missed the show. You couldn't put in AirPods while you were at the drive-thru. You couldn't put one AirPod in and have the other AirPods to the drive-thru. Come on.
Right. What's more important in the show? Nothing. Fighter of the year. We had Fighter of the Year.
Agree with Crawford?
No, we had Beeb said Crawford. I said Lomachenko. Robert said Anthony Joshua. Fight of the year was unanimous. Anthony Joshua across the board. Anthony Joshua.
What about Keith? What about Keith Thurman? Doesn't he get any love for beating Danny and Porter back to back?
No, none, because it took place in separate years.
Why not?
Because it took place in separate years. He fought once in 2016.
Separate years.
Once in 2017.
Up, man.
He gets nothing.
Yeah, once in 2016, once in 2017. That's wonderful.
Crawford gets for beating Felix Diaz and Ndongo, and Loma is number 2 for beating Mariaga and Rigo.
Mariago, Jason Sosa, and Guillermo Rigondeaux. All 3, by the way, retired.
All washed up bums.
All washed up bums.
When is this guy going to ever move up? He keeps talking about Mikey, and when is he ever going to move up? He keeps fighting like 22 and 26 pounders. When is he going up to 135?
I think he's headed there in his next fight.
And who is that going to be? Who's the next cherry he's going to pick?
I hope there's no cherry involved. But I don't know who it'll be.
Probably Ray Beltran, right? Since he's the only guy they have over there. What else do they have?
We got another $10 because of Jason. Shout out to Jason.
Love it. Igloo. Love it. Thank you,
Igloo. Thank you, Igloo.
That means you can never play that bullshit ass soundtrack when I call next time. Yeah, shit.
It doesn't mean.
It's all right. I'll go back. I'm gonna find that. I'm gonna go back in the truck. I'll find that.
Appreciate it, Igloo.
Beeb's gonna go in the production truck later on.
I'll find it.
But hey guys, did you see? I was looking at since people were saying that Rigo only got like 400K, and Loma's talking about Tank. Tank made like 700K in his last fight. Do you think Loma and Bob have money if they want to fight Tank or no? I don't think so.
I don't know. I think that would be a good fight, but I don't know if they have the guts to make that fight.
That fight is not.
Can you imagine Bob Arum and Floyd Mayweather at the negotiating table? The way they hate each other's guts.
It doesn't matter. That fight's not going to happen.
I'm sure Heyman will take that. Tank was originally an Al Heyman fighter. He gave him to Floyd, so Heyman still handles all his deals and shit. I'm sure he'll take care of that if it happens.
Floyd's going to make money off of Tank.
If Tank is making 700 on undercard, won't he want more than 400 that Rigo got from Loma?
He probably would get it too, though. You don't think he would get it?
For sure.
He would probably get it. I think he would get it.
Yeah.
He would be the most probably famous name on Lomachenko's resume if he did fight Tank, wouldn't he? Because Tank's a star now. He's a big star.
I don't think Tank's a big star.
Well, my question about Tank, will he make weight? Because
I still think Gary Russell
overweight.
I still think Gary Russell's
Why
the
don't they
name.
fight at 135? Well, they should fight at 135. I think Tank will be stronger at 135, so he don't have to fucking drain himself. Why not?
Well, that's true.
Where they fought, Floyd's not going to make that fight.
I think Tank would be better at 135.
Yeah, Floyd's not going to make that fight. He's gonna fight Tank. He's going to make a lot of money off of Tank. He's not going to make that fight.
You think Tank is going to go to Japan and get that belt?
I think it's possible.
Yeah, why not?
And dude, Eric, you said he's not a big star. I just looked at his social media. He's more popular on social media. He's got like 700,000 followers. Loma's like 500. And Tank's pictures are getting like 40,000 likes, 35,000 likes. That's like superstar level in boxing. Even Broner's not that famous on social media anymore. So he's a big star already.
I don't know.
Who? Like he's more famous on social media than Tank, Lomachenko, and all those guys on Top Rank. Not one star on Top Rank is as big as Tank on social media. Go look at his numbers. Go look at his engagement on his pictures, the likes, the comment numbers, and compare that to Loma and Crawford.
Yeah, but what about his views though?
90
What about
seconds.
the TV ratings? I think that's kind of the TV ratings is another thing.
TV ratings. He's
about.
Gonna do 700-800 easy. You know that. And also, I was watching that DeGale and Jack card. When Tank walked into that fucking arena, thousands of people were standing and cheering for him because a lot of people traveled from Baltimore to New York, to Brooklyn. So he's got a fan base. They just haven't. He hasn't fought in New York since then, but he used to fight over there a lot. There's thousands of people cheering for him. If you go watch that card again,
I would like to see him. I would like to see more fights in Maryland
60
too.
seconds.
I would like to see him fight a little bit more in Maryland too, for sure. Because if he's got a base down there, he didn't want to move to Las Vegas because of that. I mean, he likes it in Maryland. He's a hometown guy. So
yeah, they have a brand new boxing arena.
Yeah,
the National Harbor thing.
Right.
He could make that his home.
Right.
Yeah, but those PBC guys, they only do it at Barclays or nowhere because they have that deal with Barclays. You know, they have like 20-fight deal with Barclays or something.
Is that what it?
Wow.
That's. I knew they had something with them.
Hey guys, when is that fucking guy Oscar Valdez gonna step it up? I just saw an article on Boston Scene, and they said Oscar Valdez and Magdalena wait for dates. And in the article, the fucking writer is so sneaky. So this will be Valdez's first defense, and even though it's his fourth defense, he said this will be his
10 seconds.
He doesn't even mention this will be his fourth defense. Like, when is he going to step it up? Who's he going to fight next?
I thought he was supposed to fight Jojo Diaz.
You think Golden Boy is going to make that? I don't think he's ready for Valdez, but it's probably a closer fight for him than Gary Russell, right? That's a better fight for Jojo, more winnable.
Yeah, I think. Look, I don't think the Gary Russell fight's ever going to happen. Now there's another fighter.
Is Gary Russell ever going to fight again?
Since May. What the hell's up with him?
Yeah, what in the world is up with Gary Russell? Yeah, but I heard he had hand problems. I heard he had hand problems and stuff.
He always fights once a yeyear. He's lazy. He always fights like that once a year.
Yeah, that's a shame, man. That guy is so talented.
Yeah. No, I think Jojo Diaz and Oscar Valdez. That would be an interesting fight. I mean, if I'm Jojo Diaz, I'd take that fight because if you're going to sit around, you don't want to do what Tony Bellew is doing and constantly waiting for David Hay. If you're Jojo Diaz,
Tony Bellew should have fought like Dylan White in the meanwhile and made some money instead of just. And what if David Hay pulls out again? Because he could. I would not be surprised if David Hay pulled out again. I would not be surprised at all.
David Hay always pulls out. I mean, come on.
That was my thing when they made this rematch. When they made that rematch. Again, not even after that second one, but after his last time he pulled out, and then they rematched and they want to rematch him again for sometime next year. I said that is just stupid because listen, you cannot trust this guy at this point. You need to make him have a fight.
You can't.
If he wants to fight this guy, you need to put a fight. You make him put him on the undercard and make him have a fight before we do this again, because we're investing too much time, too much money for this idiot to get injured walking up a flight of steps. Another Eddie Hearn special.
Beeb,
Wank, son.
I've been noticing Loma call out Tank really a lot, like a bunch of times. But how come Loma isn't calling out the other champs at 130 and 135?
The fight that I really want to see Lomachenko fight. This is the fight that I want to see him fight more than any fight out there. Him fight Mikey Garcia.
Which fight?
I want to see him fight Mikey Garcia. I love that fight.
Man, that's a good fight.
He's not going to fight him. He hasn't even moved up to 135, and once he does, he's not going to fight Mikey in his first fight. So forget that. Why isn't he fighting Berchel or the other champs at 130 or 135?
Way.
Well,
that fight is
my question about Garcia is, I don't think he cares about 135 because now he's going to take his second fight at 140.
Garcia's not coming back.
He's not dropping that belt. Maybe he does have plans on staying. Maybe.
I think he'll come down to 130.
Mikey. I don't think Loma is a winnable fight for Mikey. Linares is definitely winnable for Mikey.
Yeah. Mikey kills Linares.
Yeah, I think if I'm Mikey, I fight Linares, and then I try to make the Lomo fight.
You get more leverage too. Get more belts.
But it was also rumored that Mikey was supposed to fight Robert Easter. Now look at Robert Easter; he's on the Barclays card fighting Fortuna.
But my theory on that is, I remember we argued about that. My theory is, we just saw what Mikey did to Broner. He beat him like every fucking round.
Yeah.
So Al Heyman is thinking Broner is a ticket seller and Easter is too, and he probably doesn't want to feed two of his big ticket sellers to Mikey back to back. So he gave him Lipinets and he gave Fortuna to Easter, let him earn some money, and I'm sure in 2018. If the Linares and Mikey fight doesn't happen, Easter and Mikey will happen. That's my guess, because PBC gave us a lot of good fights this year. They're saying in 2018 there's going to be a lot of big shows, so I'm hoping that happens. And also, Richard Comey and fucking Alejandro Luna is on the Mikey card. That's going to be a war. I was telling Beeb about that last night. That's going to be a war.
That's a good fight.
That's a good fight, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
And what's the kid on the second fight? The Cuban kid, the younger brother. What's his name? The two Cuban brothers, the younger one's fighting on Mikey's card also. He's having a rematch.
Yeah, Bartholomew, isn't it? Rancis Bartholomew?
Yeah,
he's fighting.
He sucked on his last fight when he lost that. I thought he lost and he sucked in his last fight on Fox Sports.
He's fighting on Mikey's undercard. in Texas or whatever, and I can't remember who the guy. It's a rematch. It's the rematch.
Yeah, it's a rematch. It's a rematch, right? He had it like 2 months ago. He lost in Vegas. Remember?
Yeah.
It's a rematch, and I forget who it's against.
Let me see if I can.
Some no-name guy, but he lost. They gave him the gift, but he lost. I thought.
Yeah.
That was real. Yeah, it was really controversial.
Let me see if I can find it real quick.
And the PBC is bringing back those. You remember those Leha and Bata promoters from Texas? They're bringing them back. I think they're going to start doing some more work with them.
Yeah.
Kiro Relic.
Well, that would be good. You could have the Charlo brothers and Earl Spence fight in Texas. You know.
Charlo was on IG Live. He said his fight is not on Spence's undercard. He's going to be fighting in Texas in 2018 also. So that's kind of cool.
They need to get that Texas base established. Okay. Yeah, so that'll be the undercard on the Garcia. That'll be on the Garcia undercard.
They should have taken Benavidez to Texas also. No, what do you think?
Yeah.
They should have. Yeah, they should have took
audience for David.
They should have took one of the Charlos to Texas.
They put him on the Danny card in Mandalay Bay.
Yeah, some of their moves don't make any sense. Some of the moves, in the sense that like where they place fights, and the fighters that they place at those, at those venues don't make a lot of sense. Like I said, man, I kind of get the Mikey Garcia one because he is Mexican American. There's a huge base there in Texas. I got it. But not to put one of like Errol Spence or the Charlos on a card like that in the Alamo Dome, because I don't, it just doesn't make a lot of that move didn't make a lot of sense to me. But the important part
of opening up Charlo and Spence will probably sell 10,000 in the Barclays easy. I know, because I'm pretty sure they will, because if Wilder and Stavern can sell 10, 11,000, I'm sure Spence and Charlo can do the same.
Yeah, but Wilder and Stavern, it was Wilder and Ortiz that actually sold that. It was Wilder and Ortiz that actually sold that.
Nobody gives a fuck about Ortiz. They were going to buy that shit anyway. Nobody knows about Ortiz anyway. People act like Ortiz is some fucking star. He's not. He's a no-name too.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't think he didn't fold anything.
Yeah, I don't think he's. I don't know. We'll see. That was a big fight. Everybody was excited about it. So.
Well, we won't have to worry about Louis after March 3rd.
We got Centeno, Charlo, and Broner and Omar Figueroa coming also. I think that might be on the same card.
Yeah, Broner and Figueroa. Yeah, that's gonna be a good fight. That's a crossroads fight, man. I'll tell you what, that's a crossroads fight for Broner.
Broner better not take his dumbass to Texas. He'll get robbed over there, even if that's a close fight, and they'll let him hit him low blows like that fucking Frank Foster guy that let Maidana hit him low with grabbing punches all night. That's what's gonna happen. Remember that? What's his name? The crooked ass ref.
Who was that? Who was the referee in that fight?
Lawrence Cole, I believe.
Lawrence Cole?
Oh, yeah, horrible. Oh my God, he's
shady looking. He just looks shifty.
Oh, he's so horrible.
I believe that was the Lawrence Cole special.
Jim Lansley always lets him have it. I think his daddy was like the commissioner. That's how he got the job or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, Centeno, Charlo, and Broner, Omar Figueroa. That does make sense for Texas, doesn't it? Like a 10,000 arena, that could do good numbers over there.
Yeah, I'll be real curious to see what they do. I'd be real curious to see what they do numbers wise in Texas with the card they're putting together. I'd be real curious.
Omar's got a big fan base. He's got a lot of chick fans, a lot of Mexican girls that go crazy over him.
That's insane.
Yeah, but that Alamo Dome is going to look so empty, man. Jeez.
But I'm sure that's the only arena they could probably find. But I was saying, last year or two, I was hearing rumors like Omar Figueroa was like out of shape, drunk, and fat all the year round. Like I never heard people talking about that either. People always shit on Broner, but where has Omar Figueroa been for the past 2 years? What's he been up to?
Right. Yeah. Who do you like in that fight? Who do you like in the Broner fight?
I think Broner should beat him because Omar, he comes in straight with his head and he's made. But I think the first 6 rounds Broner is going to win. Then he's going to gas out and start letting Omar in the fight like he always does. That's my guess. But Broner looks heavy. He looks drunk. Like in every video he posts, he looks drunk, like he's tipsy. So that can't be good for him. So he's going to have to lose all that fucking alcohol weight and shit.
Yeah,
imagine if he loses against Figueroa. What's going to happen?
Omar's been in the gym with OL Diaz recently, so he's coming back. So that looks good for him.
Well, if Figueroa beats Broner, you can put a toe tag on Adrian Broner, man. I mean,
he wants to get rid of everybody.
Broner's got a lot more than Guerrero did, though. Broner's got a lot left more than Guerrero did.
For sure.
I think so.
For sure. Yeah, he's a live dog. Right now, he's a live dog for anybody he fights. I mean, yeah, he's not a pushover for anybody. So.
What about poor Adrian Granados, man? When is he going to get a good fight?
I don't know, man. I wanted to see him
he
against Crawford.
He could have beaten Porter, I thought, if he had some more.
If he was heavier, yeah. If he was heavier, I thought he would have beat Porter. I always wanted to see him fight.
Yeah, they make that poor guy go out of his weight class all the time. He needs to have a fight in his weight class, man.
Right.
Because it looks like he's got a lot to offer.
Who did they have at 140, Robbie? Who did they have at 140? Al Heyman doesn't have that many guys at 140, does he?
I know.
Doesn't matter, but that's why you get a manager and a promoter, you know? I mean, so you can fight guys in your weight class. I feel bad for the guy.
He's with those Samson boxing guys, I think, and they always work with him, and so they have no option but going with him.
Yeah, the Wattersons.
He's with a TGB promotion or something.
Isn't it Sam Watterson, or is it Watson? Watson?
Yeah, something like that. Waterman, something like that.
Oh, it's Watson.
But Regis Progress is another guy that needs to be. He's a fucking star in the making, and he needs to snatch him from
I like the way he looks. He's another one that needs to fight more often. Hell, that's a fight, Granados and Prograis. What do you think about that, Jason?
He said he's waiting for Postol to sign the paperwork. He's fucking stalling. Yeah. That's what he said on ES News last week. Ellie Segmag did like 3 or 4 videos with him. He's training in California, and he said Postol is not signing the contract.
Yeah, I don't blame him. Postol's going to get
murdered.
Well,
I don't think Victor signed a contract since he lost to Crawford.
Yeah, because if he loses again, he's not going to want to fight again.
I don't think he's fought. I don't think he's fought since then.
No, I don't think he has. That's my whole point, Eric.
Yeah, I don't think he's fought since then.
Who is his promoter? Top Rank or who? K2?
I don't know. I don't think he's with either one of those guys, to be honest. I don't know who he's with.
I don't know who his guy is. Yeah, I don't know who his guy is.
He's got that same manager, that Vadim guy, that Provodnikov's manager or something.
Oh, for real? Is that oh, yeah, Vadim.
Yeah, whatever the hell his name.
Yeah, but dummy.
Victor Postal fought in September. He fought this guy.
Yeah, Najimadinov.
I never heard of him.
Jesse Magdaleno is another guy who ruined 2017. I thought he was looking good in the first fight, but then he just disappeared like he always does. Just went MIA.
Yep.
You ever heard of that guy, Beeb?
But
Postol fought?
But I'm sure he won't get any shit for being a once a year fighter. It's probably because he's not on PBC. If he was on PBC, everybody was like, "Oh, he's just on the bench." Come on, guys.
No, I like to give all fighters who don't fight more than once a year garbage.
Yeah, what do you think about? What do you think of like Danny Garcia?
Like, better.
All right, what about Danny Garcia? And like, what are your thoughts on that? Because I know you like PBC and everything, but what are your thoughts on those guys?
Didn't Danny fight another tune-up before Thurman? Like they gave him a fight in Philadelphia against that Vargas dude or somebody.
Yeah, that was in November, and then he fought Thurman in March. But after March, he didn't fight anybody.
It was only he only fought.
Yeah, he made $2 million, and he probably wanted to heal up. He took some big shots from Thurman, so he made $2 million. He probably wanted to heal up, and now he's coming back with Brandon, which is kind of. I wish he would have come back against somebody like Granados or Vargas. I would have been okay with that. You know, Granados earned that fight. Yeah. Granados deserves a fight like Danny Garcia because Danny's not that big.
Oh, I think that's a good fight.
What do you think about that?
I think that's a good fight. Yeah, for sure, that's a good fight.
Yeah, I like that fight.
And
Danny Garcia, if he's in shape, he'd destroy Jesse Vargas. I have never been a Jesse Vargas fan.
I don't know if you destroy him. I think he'd dominate.
It's a good fight. Know. Yeah,
Jesse.
I don't think it's a bad fight.
I've never been a Vargas. I don't think Vargas is all that.
No, me neither.
I mean, Danny should have at least fought like Collazo. I give Collazo a better chance than beating Danny than I do Brandon Rios, to be honest. I just saw Brandon Rios on ES News. He doesn't look out of shape too bad. He's like 170 probably. He doesn't look that bad.
Yeah, but he's ring worn. You know what I mean? He's going to get in there.
Yeah, no, I think Danny's going to have his way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. He may look great and he may look the part and make weight and everything, but when he gets in there, he's been a million miles in that car, man.
And also, man, if Danny wanted to be really great, he would fucking go out to Philadelphia to get some fucking sparring. He's always in that bum ass town. Why doesn't he ever go to Cali and Vegas for sparring? Like, that makes no sense to me. If you want to be great, you're just fucking stuck in that small ass town.
He could even go to New York if he wanted to get better sparring, you know?
Yeah, they don't do that shit. I don't get it. They're just happy with they're just content, you know?
Well, it could be. I mean, Danny Garcia is a name. He's a big name guy. I mean, he could bring anybody in. It doesn't mean just because he's
that's true. That's true. But who? He doesn't bring in. He probably brings in like Hank Lundy or somebody, but that's about
it. I don't know. I don't know who he brings in, but I mean, he's a big name. So I mean, people can. It wouldn't surprise me to have him. You know, he doesn't have to travel anywhere. He can bring people in.
I think if fighters like Danny, Thurman, and Tank all moved to Vegas or LA, they would become better fighters just by sparring and working with better guys. I think so, because they're all like, you know, Thurman should move out of Florida too. Why would he be all the way in Florida? I don't get all that shit. All fighters should be in Cali or Vegas for all that good work.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people said. They said in New York, that's what a lot of people, I heard people say that if you just spar in New York, when they went out to LA, it was a whole different ball game because of the Mexican fighters and the pressure they put on you. And it's not something you see. They said it's not something the same type of style you see in the East. It's a different kind of animal. You know what I mean?
Have you guys been seeing Curtis Stevens? I think he must be desperate for money because he's been calling out the Charlos. He said, I want to move down to 160.
Wow, for real? Yeah, he'll get killed, man. Yeah,
I don't mind that fight. Showtime would pick that fight up, I'm sure.
Yeah. Man, them Charlos, I tell you what, man, they're not ones to mess with, man. They can fight.
No,
they're crazy. They were racing in their Ferraris on Instagram. Shit, they're crazy. Go ahead, Robbie.
I was going to say, that's one set of twins I don't think I'd want in a dark alley, man. Forget that.
Yeah.
I kind of wish the older brother would go train with Derek James, too, because I don't like Johnny Shields. I think he would be better with Derek James. I really do. He would refine his movement. And
I believe the brothers, I'm sure they argue about that all the time, man. You know,
I'm sure.
I could just see that.
Yeah, Derek James, he's a good trainer.
The older Charler, he's got like some god complex. He thinks he's a god already.
And they're always so mad, man. They got chips on their shoulder. You got to love it, man.
Yeah, they've got big chips and they know how to use them, man. It's like, geez.
Yeah. I remember when Julian Williams went over to shake his hand, he just moved him away. He's like, get the hell out of here. And the whole arena started booing him. I kind of felt bad for Charlo. He had all that good performance and everybody was talking about that dumb shit, you know?
Yeah. That overshadows. I mean, that's what they got to learn. Stuff like that overshadows it.
You think, so who is Centeno fighting? Is Centeno's fighting the smaller brother, right? The younger brother?
Let's see, I don't know.
Hugo.
I don't know. Neither one of them. I don't think either one of them have fights scheduled yet.
Because the older brother has one fight, then he's a mandatory for the WBC at 160, right?
Yeah.
Who's the older brother fighting? Who's he supposed to fight?
That I don't know.
Who's his mandatory?
I don't know.
Beeb, who's the older brother supposed to fight?
Who? Jamal?
The older one, the bigger one, 168, or yeah.
No, he's
160.
160. He's a mandatory.
Yeah, 160. Yeah, since
WB.
All I know is he's a mandatory.
Jacobs is being bitches, so who's he going to fight?
Well, the old what is it? Jamal. Jamal's the one that moved up to middleweight, right? Or is that
correct?
Yeah, Jamal.
No, Jamal did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the mandatory for GGG in the IBF.
But didn't they give him a meantime fight that said he has to fight somebody in the meantime that just announced like a few weeks ago? I forgot.
Yeah, I don't think he has to fight anybody.
I don't think anything works right now.
Sit there and wait. Yeah, he could. I don't know if he will, but yeah, he could. If I were him, I mean, well, yeah, everybody's the belts are all wrapped up. His only option is Billy Joe Saunders, and that fight ain't happening. Yeah, because Triple G's got all the other belts.
Well, like I said, I think Danny will eventually get that fight, Eric. I think Danny Jacobs will fight Billy Joe. I don't know when, but I see that happening.
Man. I don't know if I see that fight happening or not. I'd like to see it happen.
I don't see that happening at all. I don't see that happening at all.
I don't know that fight happens, man. I'd like to see it, but I don't know it does. Yeah, we'll see, man.
Eddie's going to give Danny another tune-up in Brooklyn. And when is it? In the summer, probably.
Yeah, where does Garcia go from here? I mean, honestly, where does he go? I mean, he's going to beat Brandon Rios.
I have no idea. That's why this fight doesn't make sense, man.
No, he's got to come. I think
you
it
have
does.
a fight like that with Thurman and
but it's a comeback
fight. It was a competitive fight, and
then
you go to Brandon Rios. It doesn't make sense to me.
It's a comeback fight. How many times have we seen people lose and they come back against lesser opponents? It's comeback.
I know,
fight.
I know,
It's to get
but-
his confidence back. It's confidence
I
fight.
don't.
Danny's like the official dead man walking at 147 because he knows he can't fuck with the top guy, so he's just like trying to collect some checks. Meanwhile, in the shadows, that's what he's trying to do. It seems.
We'll see.
He's never
still a
going to
big
call out
name.
Thurman or Spence again. He's never going to mention Thurman or Spence ever again. Guaranteed.
No,
you know, honestly, I'd like to see Danny fight Sean Porter.
I want to
but
see.
what is he going to get out of that? What is he going to
Yeah.
get? He's going to get a shot at who? So he doesn't want to fight the guy next to them. So he's probably going to be like, why should I fight Porter? Porter will probably fucking hurt him.
Well, that may be true, but I still want to see it.
Yeah,
I think Porter will probably cut him up and stuff too.
I want to see Spence and Porter fight. I think that's the fight to make.
Well, that's another good fight too. Yeah.
That's the fight to make.
Did you see what Porter said after his last fight? We have no interest in Spence. Next question.
I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be saying that, man.
Yeah, like I wish some fucking reporter would have said, "Why would you not want your old belt?" Nobody even asked him that. They were like, "We're going the WBC route now. We have no interest in IBF. We're not even ranked with IBF." That's what Ken Porter kept saying.
Yeah, you don't want that belt, man. And you know what? I don't blame him because Errol Spence will kill that guy.
Are there any fights next week, guys? Do you know?
No, I believe the first fight of the new year isn't the first fight of the new year on the 20th with Spence and Peterson.
Who's on the undercard? Who's on the undercard of Spence and Peterson? Do we know? I keep forgetting because there's so many fucking cards I got to keep up with.
Clarissa Shields on the 12th, 17th, the 20th.
Oh, that's right.
We got
that's the first
Errol
Showbox
Spence.
card of the year.
On January 20, we got Errol Spence, Lamont Peterson, Robert Easter versus Javier
Who's on the
Fortuna.
undercard, Eric? Who's on the undercard?
Easter and Fortuna on that undercard. Adam,
Who else?
Let's see here. Adam Kaunaki versus Igago Kiladze. Those are heavyweights. And then Marcus Brown against Francie Titu. Yeah.
Now there's another guy that should be fighting better competition. Marcus Brown.
Yeah, he's been a disappointment so far, I got to be honest.
Didn't he beat that Shawnee Monahan guy recently in New York?
Yeah, which was a good win for him. I thought that was a good win for him. Yeah.
Shawnee Monahan looked so smaller compared to him. He was like a weight class smaller, it looked like.
Yeah, and then a week after that, you got Lucas Batiste against
I think Brown's eventually going to have to move up to cruiserweight, man, because he did look tremendously bigger than Monahan.
Who is that Polish heavyweight fighting Gulaki? Who is he fighting on the undercard of Spence? Who is he fighting?
Let's see, Konaki, Kiladze, Iago Kiladze. Adam.
I thought you were saying. I thought you were mentioning Izu Eguno, the guy that had a war with Brazil. Remember that guy?
Yeah,
that was a badass fight.
That's not him. That's not him.
In Alabama. Yeah, I miss that guy, man. That guy went balls to walls. I haven't seen a fight like that since.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was like a John Molina Redcast type fight on Wilder's undercard. When is so Wilder and Ortiz in March? You think in Barclays?
March 3rd in the Barclays.
Yeah, let me see here.
In the Barclays.
See if we got it here. No, I just got.
And from what I'm hearing, Joshua was supposed to fight Parker in April.
Dude, Beeb, do you think King Kong Ortiz could knock Parker out?
I would say he could, but I wouldn't pick him to do so. No, I think Parker would last the distance.
Because Parker's having close fights with Fury and Andy Ruiz, so I'm thinking, why wouldn't King Kong Ortiz, somebody like that hits that fucking hard?
I think Joshua's going to take care of all that problem.
Why can Deontay Wilder knock out Malik Scott in one round or Luis Ortiz can't?
Yeah, Luis Ortiz, it took 12 rounds. That was one of the worst fights I ever watched.
March.
Purposely put him in that fight.
What is it? March 3rd. March 3rd. That's supposed to be the Wilder. Yeah, it's set for March 3rd.
Yeah. That's also going to be the same night that Kovalev is fighting on HBO.
Just about to say that. Yeah, Kovalev is fighting.
So we got Spence Peterson, Mikey Lipinus, then Wilder, right? That's pretty good, man.
Yeah, and then on February 17th we have Danny, and then we've got the World Series of Boxing fight with Chris Eubank and George Groves.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Eubanks.
Man, I wish Showtime
Eubanks
would pick that
murdered.
fight up, man. That would be good.
They're
if they
gonna
did.
have to. Yeah, they'll
Yeah, I
pick
wanna
that
see
fight up.
that.
They'll pick that fight up. That's a big fight.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think they'll pick it up. Somebody's gonna pick it up. Maybe AWE will
They
pick it
said
up.
they're going to go after the smaller weight classes next year.
Well,
Jose
Chris
Benavidez
Eubank-
brought
Chris
Jose
Eubank
Benavidez
still
brought up
go.
Alex
That'll
Ariza.
be a good fight. So, you know.
Yeah, it will be.
There it is.
You guys remember Alex Ariza? That guy that brought Manny Pacquiao in that great shape. Remember Alex Ariza?
Yeah. The
Yeah,
steroid guy.
I don't know who he is.
He's working with David Benavidez and his younger brother now.
It wasn't him, was it? Arisa's. Yeah, he was just that one. Yeah, he wasn't involved in the steroid. It was Memo Heredia and Victor Conte, right?
It was Memo Heredia, yeah.
Yeah, those two.
Alex Ariza was the guy that Freddie Roach was like, Alex used to give Manny some shady milkshakes. That's the guy.
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Roach was throwing Manny under the bus sometimes. Roach would be like, he'd just say whatever.
Man.
All right, guys, I'll let you guys get on.
All right, see ya.
All
Happy
right,
New
Jason,
Year,
have a good New Year,
Happy
man.
New Year, guys.
Happy New Year, Jason.
Good deal. All right. And that'll do it for this edition of Ringside Reporter. As always, you can catch Robert on Twitter at Ringside Robert, or you can call Ringside Robbie's Corner at 917-259-1810. Leave him a message. You can catch Joe Habib on Twitter at JHabib1. Find his YouTube channel at beatingtheoddswithbeeb.com. And we will catch you on January 7th because we won't be around for New Year. So everybody have a great New Year and good holidays and be safe and all that other good stuff. And I'm at Ringside 73, and we will see you next week.
Happy New Year.